All right. Good morning, everyone. If
Hello.
you're around and joining us for this live stream, we're back for our Taylor Swift Eras Deep Dive project.
And ain't it glorious?
This is episode 5.2 because we are doing a second part for the album Red. Just because there is so much to talk about with the album, as you might know if you saw the last show we did. We spent a very long time talking about a lot of things. So if you're interested in seeing our thoughts on the album itself, the original track list, finding out about some of her collaborations during that era, you're going to want to go and check out that previous live stream, which is on Kristin's channel.
Yeah.
Today, however, the three of us are here to talk about the rest of Red Taylor's version.
Yeah.
The bonus tracks, All Too Well, including the short film, and of course the fashion of that era, which we're really excited to get to.
Yeah.
But before we kick that off, just one tiny bit of Taylor Swift news, and that's Taylor is actually featured on a song that is on Gracie Abrams' new album. It's a song called Us, and I've only listened to it a handful of times, but I was telling Macky this morning, actually, I find it so funny because the bridge sounds so Taylor.
It's 100%. Like
Like
the
the
phraseology,
the word choices,
and the wordplay.
I'm just like,
Taylor
this is such a Taylor
some,
track.
Some
I don't.
sick rhymes.
Yeah, I think Kristin might have seen it, but I don't think you've seen it. Kristin, you've seen the posts that have been shared where they're working together and then
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
on fire.
And why were there's like shoes on the kitchen counter?
And I'm like, what is happening in this video? Like, it's so chaotic.
Now everybody has their own artistic process.
It's like, as far as I understand it, it was between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. So understandably, I think everyone's a little bit like,
now everybody has their own artistic process.
but it is really funny that there's an actual video of it. I like how Gracie
they accidentally set a fire.
Yeah, and they didn't know how to at first turn on the fire extinguisher. And it's funny because you can hear Gracie in the video. She's taking this video. You know, she's that friend who's like, something is happening, and she's like, I'm going to take a video of it.
Yeah.
I know a few people who just will do that.
And like, to be
in the
fair,
middle of crisis.
it's contained, right? Because it's like on a
No, yeah, in a
stand,
contained crisis. Like, you know,
but it was just funny because she's like, don't put water on it.
Yeah.
It was like this whole chaotic thing until the fire extinguisher
adore
came
that
out.
so much.
Yeah, the song is good though. So if anybody else wants to give it a listen, definitely do that. I do like Gracie's music. I don't listen to it as often, but it was just fun that Taylor was on her album because I feel like that so rarely happens now.
Yeah.
Not surprised it's Gracie though, because they're friends.
Yeah. Kristin, do you have any bit of news? Because I have just a little one that might be something you've seen, but want to give you a chance to.
I don't have any news, but I did just see a very funny series of photos of Taylor standing next to Sabrina Carpenter, and she's like 3 feet taller than her. And then in the next picture, Travis is standing with Sabrina's boyfriend Barry, and he's like 3 feet taller than him. And I really want to see a picture of all 4 of them together.
It's a throwback to almost D&D, right? Where you have the different, characters, and it's just like, are you a medium humanoid or are you a large humanoid? But that's just me, and I do have a game in a couple of weeks. But no, but speaking of photos, my Taylor Swift news is just everybody third wheeling Travis and Taylor in London. Just full on third.
Agreed.
The entire 70,000 people third wheeling those two.
Mm-hmm.
All of the pointing.
It's like 100,000.
Pointing at Travis when
he'll
be the prince and I'll be the prince, and Travis is like pointing at himself and he's like, "Lover, yes, that's me now."
Yeah,
it's so good.
I also saw something else that I was like, I didn't realize this, and I'm like, my mind is blown. So during the Tortured Poets set, when she's singing "I Can Do It with a Broken Heart," the choreography that she does is different choreography throughout the entire Eras tour. So like, she's performing the Eras tour choreography.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I saw that.
100%. That is straight out of the musical theater sort of like playbook. I've only seen it done once by a really super talented choreographer that I sort of like know. Well, she's a choreographer, actress, whatever, but who we used to sort of like be in the same college org with, and she did choreography for when our college organization did 13. And in the last number of 13, she reprised every single scene from start to finish as a recap of the entire show. So that's straight up Taylor performing all of Tortured Poets in "I Can Do It with a Broken Heart." Just like, what an amazing, like, of course she would.
Yeah.
And plus, a lot more Kansas City Chiefs / Travis dance moves have made
Yeah.
it into the
Yeah.
show.
Speaking of the tour, it's just been very entertaining following it and like seeing who shows up. You know, the usual. Like Blake Lively was up there at some point. You know, everyone shows up at the show at some point. However, I do find it particularly funny all of the things that came out of London because I feel like it was so chaotic.
Yeah.
That was the most random
It's like Jason
celebrity
Kelsey
bingo.
just like walking around
Jason
there,
and
getting
Kylie
handed
Kelsey.
friendship bracelets. My favorite thing is they actually walked in with other people.
It's-
Like they didn't
Yeah.
go in some special entrance.
It's like if you took like a fishbowl of just random celebrity names and then threw them out.
Yeah.
It's Tom Cruise. Like what?
Yeah, that was so random.
Mila Kunis,
What-
Ashton Kutcher,
And Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Greta
What
Gerwig
is
in this tent.
happening?
The best is
And
the
Prince William.
And-
the best is the
Bloody
video
William.
of Prince William and the two kids because like the kids are like calm, they're
Yeah,
enjoying
they're
themselves.
fine. No, Charles
Yeah.
has over life.
And then you like switch over to Prince William and he's
Yeah.
the
She's like dancing to Shake It Off. That was so
Yeah.
good.
This
No,
is
I mean
funny.
it's technically our age-ish sort of.
Yeah,
thing,
that's
right?
why I was like,
So,
I feel like of
course-
course he would be the one.
And so yeah, I mean, you did like whatever, right?
Right? It's so entertaining.
And speaking of the prince and the little kids, two things. So there's a selfie of them.
Yeah, the one she
Yeah.
shared.
But it's the one with Travis, that
Which
she
I
puts
think is
on her
particularly
Instagram, which is,
funny.
I'm like, all right, we are, and everyone, the internet is like, we're hard launching on Instagram.
Well,
now.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the one that's posted on the official Royals account does not have Travis. on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But
We
here's
shall
the
point
thing:
this out.
the camera with which the one posted on the Royals account was used, the camera that was used
phone,
for that
you mean.
photo, is arguably Travis's.
Phone.
Mhm.
Because if you look at the phone that Travis was using and the phone that Taylor was using, so like, look it up. And in my head, I'm like, can you just imagine how that would have been? It's like, can we go a selfie with you? And she's like, sure. And I don't know, she
Just
grabs
grabs
Travis
his
phone.
phone.
Travis is like, here you go, let's try this. Whatever iteration of
Doesn't
it,
really matter.
it'll be great.
Yeah.
Like we'll do all scenarios. It's wonderful.
And speaking of, the other new thing that I love that everyone has been doing with this story is like counting the amount of times that Taylor looks at Travis while she's singing things. Because I
Yeah.
swear to God, it's become a new thing where it's like, there's one in particular that they like to track it during So High School. 'Cause
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
So this video that someone took of it, and I was like, okay, to be fair, this is a little much, but it is also very funny. It's like the amount of times you see her looking in that direction, you're like, okay, girl.
So to which I would like to say that it is somewhat the theme of ours today, and I guess Taylor for her life and
Yeah.
times now, of just like manifesting things that are 100% book girly approved. Like
Mhm.
you can't make it up.
No.
Technically you can, and people have been making it up forever.
I mean,
But
we're
you-
just like superimposing a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
mean,
You know,
fan fiction like this has been written for decades now. But it's
100%.
happening. Like it is real time. I don't.
And then you know what the nice thing is? It's also because if you look at his reaction, it's also really
But
cute.
that's
'Cause you're
part
just
of
like,
the that's part of the fanfic. Like you need the guy to react like that.
I know, it's so precious.
Otherwise,
it's hard
it's
not
not
to be excited.
Yeah.
It's not fluffy enough to be in that. Like, why read that?
I know, I'm going to be so sad while he's off at training camp.
Yeah, I mean, you read,
know.
right?
He can't be in
It's-
any of these shows.
But he's just it's the fluffiest, most like
He's really just happy to be there.
it's like
okay?
buttermilk pancake. It's just
Yeah.
fluffy.
It
And
makes
just,
me very happy.
Chiffon.
But yeah,
Yeah, but that's
I
my
do like
news. I like how I'm the one who's like the shipping. It's
Yeah.
I like how they decorated Wembley too. Did you see all of the stuff that they did?
too busy looking at Travis and Taylor. But why am I the biggest shipper in this anyway?
They
it's
did a
fine.
lot of like art on the walls, on the stairs. It was really cool actually. I
Yeah.
really liked what they did
So
there.
good.
She really tricked me because I was like so certain that we were going to be getting an announcement at the 100th show, and it was on the 6th. And then somebody pointed out, which I had not thought of, is that in the UK, like the dates are reversed. So
Oh, yeah.
technically it was 6. No, it was
13/6,
yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah, so I think now the theory is that it's July 6th there could be an announcement because that would be
Oh,
6th album
six,
for
seven.
with reputation in mind.
Is it going to be in
Is she on
England?
tour?
Oh, so England. Sorry, is it going to be in like Ireland? Where's that? Because
Ah.
there's a fan theory flying around about how TTPD, when you turn it upside down, is like reputation in like
That's so funny.
a local Irish sort of.
Oh,
like,
really? I think it might be Dublin.
Let's find out.
Because that's
While I'm
how
quickly looking.
because I mean, I just really need Reputation.
I want it to come
I
out.
know.
I need it so like it's
Okay.
not even funny how much I need it. I
Actually, she
realized.
is not on tour, y'all.
Okay.
She
okay.
is
Oh, no.
actually taking a break after the 23rd. There's a long break because the next show is in August.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I remembered vaguely because I know London is split into 2 parts. There's like
Okay.
it was this last weekend, and then the next one is Poland first. Then she goes back to London at some point.
So random. It's like Poland and Austria.
Yeah, it's Poland, Austria. Then she goes back to London, and then she just keeps going from there.
I wonder if she's gonna have a 4th of July party.
She
You
might.
know what?
Great.
She might,
You know
especially
what?
now that she's dating Travis.
Why would
Right.
she? There's
What
no.
could be more 4th of July All-American than
I know,
the players at her party?
because I doubt they'd start training camp until after 4th of July.
No, yeah,
let's be
no.
real.
Of course, people are gonna want to like
I hope she shares pictures this
like it'd
time.
be weird, right? It'd be
Yeah.
weird if like, you train now
And, like,
then
on
it's the
time.
4th of July, and then you train again,
Yeah,
and
no,
you're
I
just
think
like
it would be after.
hungover, and it doesn't. I
She
say
pro-
that like I know sports ball. I don't. Or any
You know
kind of sport.
Aristotle.
But there's a random. Anyway, so I don't know. Why am I the biggest shipper in this entire? Like, I feel like I'm always the one actively shipping.
Uh-huh,
I
let's
don't
see.
know.
It must be the '80s kid thing, because in the '80s, like everyone
begins at the end of July.
There you go. So that works.
So maybe she took the whole month off so they can hang out for the whole month until he has to start
Yeah, I
working
would-
again.
Probably.
if I were her, I would take.
Well,
February month
she
so
doesn't
I
even
can.
need to be touring at this point. Okay,
I would argue that she kind of does.
she does, but she also doesn't.
I mean, like finance. Yeah, of
We're
course,
talking
yeah.
like practicality speaking.
Oh, no,
She's
yeah,
good
there's
for
no way,
like
but
ever.
for those of us who have art to make, you're gonna
I
have
know.
to. Like, it's so funny. I posted like this thing. So apparently there are 3 types of fun, and the third the third type of fun is like fun, but then like in hindsight, it was the worst thing you could have ever done. Like rock climbing, like something to that effect. And one of them is writing a book. I posted for irony, and they're like, "Why even?" And then somebody on like feed who didn't know I was sort of an indie author is like, "Why even write a book?" And I'm like, "Oh well," and I had to explain how I'm an indie author, and it's funny because it's just like an idiot, right? So
ironic.
it's for those of us who have to do
Irony.
something like these, you just have to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it's the thing where you're like, I gotta do. It's just I think she's having more fun than I am, and most writers for that matter. I feel.
I think she's having more fun right now than you are.
Right, I would argue like she would be having more fun doing her tours than V. Schwab has writing anything in between like the writing
Yeah, because I would
process, the
argue
way
like she has
explains
fun
it.
writing, but I'm sure like the perfectionist in her.
Oh, no,
brain
yeah,
is
no,
like,
it's,
no.
You know,
Yeah.
dragging
That's why
herself
she and
through-
Ed Sheeran are friends because like it's literally like if something is wrong, it's not right.
Right.
So-
And like she when she's performing, she's getting all of that like real-time feedback from an
Yeah,
audience of
that's
people
true.
that love her. So
Yeah,
she definitely thrives when she's
I
performing.
think so.
and it's so good, and
Right.
so arguably she's having more fun. So Stephen King describes writing like rowing a bathtub across the ocean. You are literally by yourself. He could not be any more right. Anyway, we digress ever so slightly, but come rocketing back to.
Well, you know what? I did think of one other thing that is worth mentioning, even though I personally have not taken part in it. On TikTok, apparently, there is this new thing where you can collect beads to make a Era's bracelet. I don't know how you do it.
Oh yeah.
It's like a new user function thing that they just started doing.
Like you,
And now everyone's theory is like everyone's waiting for someone to collect all the beads because everyone just wants to know if it leads to something.
that is some
Probably
ready
does.
for oneself.
And I'm like, will it lead to something? I don't know. We'll find out. She's probably just keeping everyone, active while she's taking a break.
You didn't have to do that,
Right? I'm like, you would have stayed
We're
for
active.
we were gonna like sniff for clues anyway. It
everyone's
doesn't, like-
just gonna wait for the 4th of July party. Let's be real.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the 4th of July party. I don't know. Anyway, I think is that all our Taylor news? I'm pretty sure that's all the Taylor news. Oh, which means next month there's probably not going to be much unless she does do the 4th of July party.
You know what? We're gonna find out.
Unless she's suddenly like, I will drop something.
We're just gonna find out.
So you
Yeah.
know.
It'll work.
Anyway, which means we can move right on into talking about all of the bonus extra tracks on Red,
Unser Vault.
Taylor's version. Just to preemptively start, there were a couple of tracks that we're not going to really dive into because they're pretty similar to the actual tracks on the album. There were 2 demo recordings, Treacherous and Red, which were released on a deluxe edition of Red, original Red. And there's also an acoustic version of State of Grace, which is actually on Red, Taylor's version. But all of those songs are very similar to what actually ended up getting featured on the album.
Yeah, they're just very stripped down.
They're like lower production level, just because it's very stripped.
And I feel like the only thing I feel worth mentioning with these is that it already shows you how powerful Taylor's sort of like work is, because by themselves, and this is why all of the like acoustic set songs slap, is because she doesn't approach her music from, you know, how most people will sort of like layer on, especially the younger songwriters today. They'll layer on tracks and immediately go straight to like the synths and everything. Taylor's approach is 100% analog, like
still so with
far.
The guitar or the piano.
So of course they'll fly, because even with the bare bones, the song sort of like begins to shine. So put it on anything and it'll pretty much work.
Yeah.
So that's,
personally, my favorite is the acoustic version of State of Grace, because I love that
which again, my inherent problem with State of Grace after listening to the acoustic version is this is why I couldn't deal with it, because the execution of it in the full band version is so glorious and hopeful and wonderful. But I feel like she wrote it in hindsight.
It's sad.
So it's so sad. So I'm like, this is too much cognitive dissonance for me. Like I like my tragedy up front. Like I don't want it.
We'll get to that in a moment.
Oh boy, and don't I just love that?
Actually, we'll get to that quite a few times in the next or so. We're talking.
Alrighty. In which case, moving forward.
Okay. I don't know if either of you has any general thoughts you want to say about all of these vault tracks, like as a whole, before we move on into dropping into one by one. I don't.
I will.
I think I will just reserve my opinions for each song as we get to it.
Kristin, you have any overall vault track? Because I kind of do.
I feel like I don't really. Like, the one thing that I will say is that Red, like coming into Red without feeling like I knew very much of it, was like very overwhelming, just because of the sheer like volume of songs.
Yep.
But then, like, as I listened to it, I felt like I was like pretty intimately familiar with a lot of the songs on the main album. So like these songs are really like the newer ones for me. And since I haven't had as much time to sit with them, I don't feel like I have as many like strong opinions on them. But obviously I do have like some theories and stuff. So I'm excited to hear more like what you guys have to say about them.
Fair. And in which case we do want to hear the theories, and we will talk about them first. But the shades down. No,
that's all I got for you.
The thing about the thing about the vault that I particularly sort of like love is
we're talking just the vault.
Yeah, just the vault, like, and whatever, because these are literally sort of like hit me like a freight train. Mostly because again, my experience with Taylor Swift at this point in time was a Maserati down her dead end street off the rails. Like, this is when my fandom for Taylor departed completely and unhinged completely from yours, and I wasn't just like, we're a fan together. It's like, I got my own thing now.
You're like, this is yours.
So when the deluxe sort of like thing came out, and then the vault sort of like, I'm just like, how could you kill me? It's like, you know, it's like those memes where like, stop, it's already dead. You know, like every meme. I think it was, I don't know if it's like Futurama, like Rick and Morty, just those kind of irreverent sort of shows. It's like, for God's sake, stop! He's already dead. That's how this vault and everything like was to me. Like, I was like, stop it already! My God, I can't. There's no way.
And I think you already felt that way about like the initial special edition. Like,
and it
some of these they already got released before, right?
Right, and it wasn't even sort of like my feeling about like Tortured Poets Department's anthology section, where that was mostly just from a lyrical perspective. This was from every angle. This was from a lyrics perspective. This was from a re-recording perspective. So
you were standing at the
this is from Taylor,
and it went.
Right. It's like a heist where they kill all of the stoplights, and then or they make all the stoplights green, and then all of the cars and trains move forward, and then but I'm in the middle of it.
Yep.
So from a musical perspective, from a lyrical perspective, from Taylor's vocals that have changed, and then the actual new songs where I'm just like, how have you brought me to both terrible places of despair and purity in one go? It's a wonder I vetoed this because my current mood is Midnights, but underneath all of that is still Team Red.
We should start our shows like that next time. What your current mood is.
No, right. Like, because I have vetoed like Red as my all-time favorite album, even if technically, empirically speaking, based on my own rating system,
which you still have to get.
Red is, which I still have to get. They haven't updated it. Red is empirically the highest ranking album, just by sheer number of songs, sheer number of three
To be fair, it's a
5-star
little
songs.
unfair because it has like 10 billion songs.
Right, and I was thinking, like, is it just a numbers game? But
No.
but the fact that it is,
You
know,
have so many like top tier.
TTPD has like 800 billion
Yeah,
songs.
I'm
It's
curious
not
how
gonna
that-
rank quite as
I'm
high
cu-
as
I'm
Red.
curious how that would
I
go.
already know. it's
I'm
not
curious
gonna
how it'll
as high.
rank against other things.
So that's what I feel is the intrinsic experience of loving Red,
Loving
from
it was
loving
Red.
from day one, and then getting your deluxe stuff, and then getting a Taylor's version, and then getting some vault tracks. It was just, how can you still be and then the movie comes out again. That my whole thing is, how can you still be murdering me?
It's like every time you think you're getting back up, it's like nope.
Once again, raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by Taylor Swift. That's what the right. That is
always.
That is what the experience has been, and no support group is gonna make it better. Like, it's just,
It's okay. We'll just dissect it. It'll be fun.
yeah, it's there. So on that note,
Okay.
let's get
Which
the
means
ball
we can
rolling.
start with the first track, which is the first extra track, which is "The Moment I Knew." This one's pretty straightforward as to what and who it's about, because it's about Taylor's 21st birthday and the fact that the person she was dating at that time, aka Jake Gyllenhaal, did not show up. It's actually circularly referenced in All Too Well 10-minute version, which is also how you know it's a Jake Gyllenhaal song.
It's like that one moment where Sadie Sink is just like kicked Puppy in the face on the table.
Yeah, in the video it's referenced, in the song itself
In the song,
it's
right.
referenced.
It's like,
so pretty much no.
Make it a whole song. That's what's going on in her head. It's
And
this
to be
weird.
fair, it's such a sad song. You know what it was? Okay, I'll tell you.
It's so good though.
It's such a good song, but like coming off of you're listening to Begin Again and then you hear that,
Yeah.
like we're back to being this sad.
You see the whiplash? This is what I'm talking. This is
So-
the abuse
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
It's beautifully framed in a very tragic way,
So you can
but
go.
it's so sad.
So go figure, from just like a, you know how, okay, everybody who loves albums knows this, or at least knows a playlist where instinctively your brain just knows what the next
Yeah.
song is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even to your own playlist.
Sure.
So when somebody else plays the same songs in a different like succession, you're kind of like jarred. Go figure that intrinsically I stay away from this song just because I'm like, we're not going back again. We just began again. We can't.
I know.
We can't. The
There's
moment
like
you
some.
knew.
I agree. There's some like weird emotional dissonance for me in that song.
But it's beautiful.
But anyway,
nonetheless.
Kristin, continue what you were saying, because you did just say you thought it was beautiful and well done.
Oh my god, I love it so much. Like, I think even like the way that it builds to what's going on, like in the beginning, she mentions like the Christmas lights glistening, and we know Taylor's birthday is in mid-December, so like you are like getting an idea of like what's going on. And then I also love the way that she says it was like slow motion, and it's like how you're feeling when you're waiting for something to happen. Like time feels like it's not moving. Oh my gosh. And then it also is like the second time that Taylor's breaking down in a bathroom because of Jake Gyllenhaal, but which is another All Too Well reference. She really like sets the scene with like, being in her party dress, her red lipstick, the anticipation of like waiting, and then just like the crushing disappointment of being let down in front of everyone that she knows who's there to celebrate her, and like the humiliation of like looking dumb in front of all these people because the one person that's supposed to be there for you just isn't. And then obviously this is like her aha moment and like at the end when she says, "I'm sorry too," it's like she's not apologizing to him. She's apologizing because she realizes that the relationship will just never work if he can't even be there for her birthday.
Ugh, that circular reference to The Moment I Knew.
So good.
Right, it's like this weird like nesting doll situation where it just sort of like Ouroboros is itself of was it in there and was it not. It's beautiful. I feel like Taylor experiences these things in such vivid fashion enough to capture it. So can you imagine the actual terror and heartbreak and whatever in that moment?
And this is at a time when like she wasn't even, and this is just my theory considering what I was like at that age, it's like you're not even really sure of yourself. You really you place a lot of your certainty in other people and other things, especially in her case because she was growing up in front of all of us. I feel like a lot of her certainty was outward focused instead of inward focused, way different from where she is now.
Yeah.
So it's it's like so hard because you're presenting yourself a certain way, and especially in this era when she was trying to appear more mature than she was at the time because she was dating someone who was so much older. It's like it's hard not to feel like she just translated it so well where you really can feel the depth of that. Like you're trying to hold it together because you know that's what you need to do, and you know it's supposed to be a happy occasion, but like a lot of your eggs were in that basket and the basket is not there.
Yeah.
It's
I will say the rest of what I have discovered when we talk about All Too Well, because obviously it feeds into.
Yeah.
But yeah, any favorite lines from the?
I actually have none in this one because it's just so specific that it was hard for me to be like.
It's such a stream of consciousness song.
Yeah,
It is.
about it.
But Kristin, did you have a favorite line?
I have two.
Yeah, please.
You
go ahead.
say.
I like it would have felt like a million little shining stars. had
That was mine. That was mine.
That one. And then also just like she captures it so well when she says, what do you say when tears are streaming down your face in front of everyone you know? And what do you do when the one who means the most to you is the one who didn't show? It's so sad. And also like, I know we like talk about this a lot, but like as much as like Taylor's songs are about a lot of like romantic relationships, I think they translate so well to other relationships too. Like that line could be like a child being disappointed by a parent who doesn't show up for like play or a game or whatever. It just like it's just such a universal feeling.
Yeah, she does that really well, taking a personal situation, translating it to a song, but then expressing the feeling of that situation in a way that feels more universal to everyone.
No, and I feel like what makes her lyrics even more powerful is the way she does that. You know, she takes a thing is she uses conversational, like phrases, meaning she intentionally will pick a phrase that you or anyone she knows would say in a normal conversation and then work off the cadence of that. So, which is bananas and so good.
Interestingly enough, the Million Little Stars actually is also kind of a circular reference because that lyric or something similar to it is in a song from Fearless. It's in Untouchable.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sounds familiar. Even the first time I heard the moment, I'm like, this sounds awfully familiar. I'm sure it came from somewhere
which is ridiculous.
else.
Which now it's super meta, right? Because whilst I did mention a couple of streams ago where Taylor takes an idea and it's like, I'm not done with that idea. I want to try the same turn of phrase or like concept and try to put it in another song. She takes an existing one which was supposed to be good, and with those hopes go, this is what I thought we could have been, and now it's the exact opposite, and it is heartbreaking because that's what happens when you sort of like lose touch with the sort of like purer parts of yourself and life comes crashing at you. And she talks a lot about that in Girlhood. I know nothing about, obviously, because look at me, there's nothing about me that's a girl. But I have an Attenborough Animal Planet sort of like account of this is apparently what girls go through in the wild. It's like observe. Like I have that account of like what happens when we get to All Too Well. But that is a huge theme of Red and the earlier parts of Red. Before she goes, F it, we're going to begin again, even if we know he's trouble. So apart from
that. I mean, it happens quite a few times after this.
Sure does.
Anyway, if anybody if we don't have any more to say, we can move right on to the next song because I do really like the next song.
I actually do have a couple of like fun facts for this one.
Okay, let's go.
So she played this song at the Target release party for like the deluxe album, and it was actually like kind of like awkward, but in like a really endearing way because the song is so sad. And she didn't perform it, but like they played it, so she's just like on stage like, smiling to the song about like someone not showing up for her birthday. And I feel like everyone there was probably listening to it like, wow, because it's like you were already embarrassed this one time where like this person didn't show up, and now you're just embarrassing yourself in front of everybody here by like swaying along to this on stage.
Look at what I made.
I'm like, what other song could she? Well, technically, there was a better option, I think, that she could have picked to play.
I mean, there were so many, but I think she was trying to make it fun.
I mean,
But anyway, so there's that. This one was written by Taylor, produced by Nathan Chapman, and this was really fun. So it features backup vocals from Liz Hewitt, who Taylor first met in a meet and greet one in Nashville.
Oh.
And yeah, Liz told Taylor that she wanted to be a singer, so Taylor brought her back into her dressing room, gave her some advice, and then Liz later moved to Nashville and auditioned to be Taylor's backup singer and has been touring the world with her like ever since.
That is glorious.
That's so sweet,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I like that. That just it was like so like that's so like quintessentially Taylor to like genuinely like offer someone advice and like try to help them.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I think so too.
She'll give a leg up whenever she can.
Yeah.
She's great.
But she doesn't really talk about it either, which I think is even better. She's just like, I'll do it. You know what I mean? It's fine.
She should.
Yeah.
Okay. If we have nothing else to say about that one, we can roll right along into the next track, which is Come Back Be Here, which I really enjoy. I'm not going to say much about it, except that obviously my theory about it is that it's about Harry Styles. But arguably other people have also argued it could still be about Jake Gyllenhaal. So
I don't think so.
Nah,
I personally am just going to stand by the Harry thing because, you know,
that's the hill
that's
we're
where I
dying
am.
on. I mean, if the London...
That's the hill I choose to die on.
This is fun when we're worlds
and it's
away.
like the way it's talked about in the first verse especially, it's like set it on the second day. And I'm like, if it's the second day, it can't possibly be Jake. It has to have been.
Yeah,
right.
She was trouble. But, she
okay,
totally.
But listen, low-key, I really love Come Back Be Here, actually. It's actually of the original tracks that were released as like extras, that's probably my favorite.
Listen, there is a cover of me on the internet somewhere singing this song.
Is there? Oh yeah,
you bet. So 100% love this song from top to bottom, up, down, left, and right. I may have taken a few liberties with that bridge and changed a few things, but that's just me, and that's just the glory of being not too known. And you can do that. And still throw it out. But Kristin, thoughts on Come Back Be Here?
I really like this one too. I think it like captures really well how you can have like an instant connection with someone, and then it's almost like they just met and then had like a spontaneous like weekend together because they just didn't want to leave each other. And then again, we have like the transportation imagery with him running to catch his flight, and then the plane that took him, and then taxi cabs and busy streets, which also I feel like ties back nicely to State of Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think like the line like "This is falling in love in the cruelest way," "This is falling for you in the world's way," is like we're saying it's a long distance relationship, which is Harry. And also the fact that she mentioned like the two places she mentions are New York and London. That I feel like that's Harry. Like it can't be
giveaway. Like who else? Who else would it be?
Her first London boy.
Never forget your first.
Never forget your first. Because they never go out of style. So.
I'm so excited to talk about that. Okay, favorite lyrics.
Kristin mentioned, and I agree with her, falling in love in the cruelest way is true because not everybody's cut out for long distance. In fact, I would argue that nobody is cut out for long distance.
I don't think anyone is, not for long time anyway.
Because that's not how we were meant to be, connected. But
I don't think so.
Love that stuck forever.
Mine is actually more of the connection when they first make the connection, when it goes the delicate beginning rush, the feeling you can know so much without knowing anything at all. Is actually one of my favorite lines in that song because I'm like, it just describes exactly what Kristin was saying, which is like you meet someone, you have that connection. You can't really explain it because you don't really know them and you know this, but you're still like, no, but there's something.
Yeah. That's the line that I had written down as well.
It's just such a good line.
Do you have anything else written down, Kristin?
The only other line that I have written down is I also like when she says, I told myself don't get attached, but in my mind I play it back spinning faster than the plane that took you.
Oh,
that's actually such a good way of describing that exact scenario.
Yeah, I love that. And one last shout out to it's nice to be able to sing the word nonchalant again.
Yeah.
As a Mariah Carey fan, it's been a while since I've had anything in my
interesting word choice actually.
Since I've had nonchalant in any of my playlists. And I loved when it was there. Shout out to Bone Thugs. But now that it's here, I'm like, what a lovely way to be singing this word once again in a perfect Perfect.
I like how she just has such like a gift for picking like such great words. Like I think we'll come to it later, but like my favorite word on like this section of the show is I love that she included the word ingenue.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
Nothing New.
I
I
like
was
her
like,
choices.
Oh
Yeah.
man. See, and the reason why I feel like Taylor, and this is coming from like a tortured, like, a tortured poet from the tortured poets department, where I come from an era where, oh my God, the poetry and the songs and all that kind of, it's so refreshing when Taylor pulls something like that, because
Mhm.
again, everything else is conversational. So it's literally like a jewel on a setting when she whips out a word that's
So
a little
Yeah.
unconversational, and it fits so well because lyrically, and that's the fine gold that she sets it in, because from a musical phrasing perspective, she just knows exactly how to hammer that thing in there.
Mm.
So it's this beautiful placement.
And it's interesting
so
because
good.
like the longer she goes on in this career and the more she writes and the more you
Less
actually notice
hinges
it's
she has.
happening more and more versus
Yeah.
like right now there's still like a little bit of restraint you'll notice because some of the other songs don't have that complicated lyric. It's like very straightforward, very easy for other people to remember, but it is very funny hearing like tiny children sing words that they probably don't know the meanings
Oh
of.
no, it's great.
Yeah.
And it's doing wonders for the our culture.
It's lifting the vocabulary rate up.
It's I say our culture in general, and I also know like culture in the Philippines. There's like a subculture in the Philippines where people sort of like look down on anyone who's smarter. I won't get into why or how they do that, but there is like
Yeah.
the subculture of sort of like they like to tear people down if they're a little smarter,
It's
a little
part
bit
of
more
like
learned.
I guess it's
It's a
like the
whole
cultural
thing.
humor that's built in
But
over
and sometimes it's benign, and sometimes it's like completely malignant. But it's so funny because there are a lot of Swifties in the Philippines, and a lot of them were just like, "Oh my God, my brain is dying" with the new lyrics. And I'm just like, "Good, good.
Yeah.
Please continue to be
and
fans
look up what it
and
means.
take this as an opportunity that smart things aren't a bad thing
Yeah, and can
Yeah.
be
and can be cool.
impactful.
Like
Yeah.
don't like you should like get right back up on the cart and just keep chugging along. It's
Mm.
fine." So
Mhm.
she's doing wonders for education. I find.
Spelling is fun.
Taylor Swift masterclass.
Not for me. I cannot spell to save my life. I don't think I can. I don't think I ever will. I will interpret lyrics though, but don't let me spell them.
So I will say this is actually one that she rarely performs live.
Mhm.
The first time she ever did it was during the Reputation tour, which happened years after this album came out.
Yep.
But I wanted to mention it because one of the recent mashups she did when she was in Europe was this song combined with The Way I Loved You and The Other Side of the Door. And I'm like, this combination though,
I mean,
why would you do that?
Taylor is low key just writing mini musicals at this point in time.
Yeah, she's trolling the internet with all of these mashups though.
She's
Every single time she
just-
does a new mashup, I'm like, I don't know what you're gonna do anymore.
And
Like
she-
I'm just
She already has the ingredients for a musical, right? Repetitive themes,
Yeah.
songs that can counterpoint with
different
each other.
kinds of songs too.
Yeah.
Like there's the ballads, there's like the
Yeah.
dancey
Counterpoint.
ones.
It's all there. The ingredients.
Yeah.
It's just she has to make a cake and maybe set it on fire a little bit, but that's neither here nor there.
Or run her fingers through it, which we'll get to later.
Mhm.
Or stab a knife into
Or
it. What am I
stab
even
a
talking
knife
about? Of course you
into
could just
it.
stab a knife into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that we've talked about Come Back Be Here, we're going to talk about Girl at Home, which I just want to go first for a couple of reasons because I actually have a weird relationship with the song. The first original version of it, did not like it.
Really?
Not a fan. The original album, and Macky knows this.
Yeah.
Most of the people like in the Taylor Swift family group know this. I was not a Girl at Home. Like in the original album, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. However, when Taylor's version came out, I was like, what happened? I was like, what is going on with this song? 'Cause
Arrangement.
because the way it was produced in Taylor's version, I actually like it so much better, which is
I
so
love
weird.
it.
I have a romanticized version.
Yeah,
of
it's weird.
why
The
that
only
is, but-
the only fact I'll throw in before Macky or you, Kristin, will take over is that this one is rumored to be about Zac Efron,
Yeah.
which I think is. It's funny because I was like, in my mind, I'm like, that kind of tracks. Unfortunately, like
Was
I don't know what
this-
that says about me that I think that tracks.
Was this the end? Like, was this towards the tail end of Zach and Vanessa's
I don't
like
know.
thing? Because
I don't know.
Either when he was, I don't know if he was with Vanessa or Lily Collins, but
It was one of the two.
specifically because he was like hitting on her like crazy at the Lorax premiere. And there's literal footage of him accidentally dropping a condom on the red carpet, which is so funny. Like, so that kind of like cements that seems pretty likely. That's what you single for that night.
God, I can't with this song. But yeah, personally, I love the Taylor's version of it. Didn't like the original version of it. I was like, one of you can take over now because I'm like, that's all I got to tell you.
Kristin, what do you got?
I personally love this song. I think it's so much fun. I also really like how on this album, Taylor talks a lot about knowing nothing. But then on this song, she's like, oh, but this
I know.
like, this I know. So keep it moving, buddy. And I also love like the snark implying that like any girl who would go with him would be stupid, but then later acknowledging that like she might have gone with him if she hadn't been the girlfriend who was cheated on in the past. And it's also just like, I just think this song is like particularly funny because it's also about a famous guy with a famous girlfriend. So it's like everyone knows that you have this girl at home. Like, what are you doing?
This I think it was at this point in time when I thought, great, I can add this to, I forget what the third one is, but my trifecta of, at this point in time, I now had a trifecta of Taylor Swift feminist songs, starting with Tied Together with a Smile, because it was such an empowering message to other. Sorry, I have to put my David Attenborough voice. Was it David or Richard? I don't know. Richard. I was just the Adult Planet voice. I'm not a woman. I don't know anybody. But apparently, it is empowering for a young woman to understand that while she may not think she's attractive, others actually perceive her to be so, and must imbibe that into herself as a way of empowering herself and equality. And the next piece would be 15, in which case you will believe that somebody when they says they love you. This is true. And then Girl at Home, which sort of like is a kind of a growing up, sort of like, here are the many troubles that women will encounter as they grow older. And I'm sitting down taking notes, fascinated, right? Because this is, oh my God, it's your sense of self, and then it's your sense of self. And oh wait, also your sense of self, strong enough to say, move on.
No, thank you. It's the antithesis of Better Than Revenge.
Right.
Yes, actually.
Right, so it's so good, and so I had a trifecta there, and I'm like, I could write a paper about this, and then I realized, yes, what the world needs, exactly what the world needs, another male presenting person talking about women, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep quiet and let the girls take this if they want. I'm just here as a fan of women and girls. I'm like, y'all go. I'm just.
But this is like definitely another case of like Taylor and her sass coming out yet again.
Oh no,
she's for a good cause.
She's grown up. Yeah. She's like a young woman at this point, and wise beyond her years still.
Yeah, I really like, unrelated to this song, but like I really like how much her sense of humor comes out in interviews during this era. Like I feel like she's much more comfortable and like more being herself than being worried about how she's perceived. I mean, she obviously is worried about how she's perceived, but like, I don't know. I like that. It feels like we're seeing like more of her.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
And the more I see the quirkiness, and the more I see sort of like the just unapologetically funny and dry about, and that's probably why she gets along with the British so well, because the humor is just, you can light a match. It's so dry. Yeah. You wouldn't even know that a joke was made until she actually says it. Mm-hmm. And she's just had to put on this very sort of like Southern charm to just paper over that, but underneath it, it's just this irreverent.
Yeah, that's true.
Just devil. You know what I mean? And because it's both, right? She's imbibed that culture. She's the best of it. Where we got to make sure everybody's fine, and she has her famous like, "Thank you so much for saying that." But underneath it, she's like, "Are you, like?" There's that like little, like sense of defiance that I cannot get enough of.
Yeah.
Love that so much.
I realize. Anybody have any favorite lyrics from this one?
Everything, because it's a whole story. But Kristin, please highlight.
I like the call it. My favorite person. I think Kristin might have more, but it's the one where she's like, "Call a cab.
Call a cab whenever you're about to lose that girl." That is.
And let's hear this lesson learned.
And it's gracious.
Yeah, I had that one written down too.
Right? It's a strong rebuke, but a gracious one.
Yeah.
But I also really love the lyric. I just want to make sure you understand perfectly. You're the kind of man who makes him mad.
Yeah.
That one's so good.
Yeah.
It's not even so much like, and
It's not even that.
there's never
mean.
there's never a direct
Yeah.
like judgment that is passed on this person. You know,
She's just
and
like,
yet
just so you know.
just so you know, like, this makes me sad that you're doing this. So you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, the title, it's just that line, "Don't look at me, you got a girl at home," and everybody knows that.
Mm.
I'm like, wow, coming out strong here, and I'm just like, it's so good. It's literally just like line in the sand, and it cannot get any clearer. Like,
Mhm.
I just find it so funny.
and that she built. Sorry, I like because sonically,
It's so funny to
it's
me.
so good. Don't look. It's slap. It's like, don't touch the cookies. They're not
Yeah, basically.
ready yet.
Yeah.
And then be like,
You know, these are for the guests. Like, I don't. There's that. It's very scoldy, but not.
Yeah.
But is.
yeah, it's great. It's smart. Again, smart production.
Right. What else you got, Kristin?
Well, nothing for this, but when you said that, my mind went to No Soup for You.
No, but it's true. I think I think
That's
it really
good. That's good.
the new production of it really elevated how that song sounds.
I feel like
I haven't heard the old one, so I don't know the difference, but I
Don't even bother.
immediately loved this song.
I know
Don't even
I know the difference. The old one is very deep, sort of like acoustic, not acoustic, but like country pop rock sort of like vibe, and it feels like a very young woman
Yeah,
just drawing a line in the sand, being very
which is
indignant,
fine.
very
Yeah.
very strong, and I love that. Of course, that's exactly
Yeah.
like, that is a strong female character. That is every YA protagonist that is just like, why is nobody listening to me? And is the only one who can save the day. That's her.
Accurate.
This version is a woman in her 30s
They're like,
who's like, listen, we're we're done here. Like, you can't. And she's so smooth now,
Mhm.
sonically. It's just, I feel like that's why you like this, because it has the weight of years.
Yeah.
And she is
It's true.
as opposed to like a young woman, sort of like that like little girl with a bull on Wall Street. Instead of a young woman just holding her ground for what is right, now she's like a freight train going, we're not doing this. And she just cruises through, and that's how it feels like.
I think that's
sonically.
probably why I enjoy
And
Well,
it.
that is a dangerous game unless you play it good and right.
there
I
you
also
go.
like the effect now where when they do it kind of goes like this, goes in and out. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain it.
No.
Is there a term for this? Because I don't.
Yeah. It's just like the build-ups and this.
Yeah,
sort of like
it kind of goes
whatever.
like that
Yeah.
back in.
So to have that sort of a confidence and that smoothness, I feel
Yeah.
like that's, she's coming from a place of power,
Mhm.
as opposed to she's coming from a place of sort of like, what is right. And there's
Yeah,
a difference between those things. It's
Mhm.
subtle.
Yeah.
Because because in the first piece, it feels like she doesn't have that much, because it feels like, because
Mm.
the music doesn't sort of lend to it. People associate youth with like not having enough.
Mhm.
Here it's like the weight of yours. It's like, look, I've been around the block several times in this. keep stepping it. I can't. There's no time for this.
I
As
mean,
opposed to, this is wrong. I'm trying to explain to you that this is not.
I
And,
see,
and there's like a whole speech about how this is not right, and that's good. Now it's just like, see if you can catch up.
Granted, I'm probably one of the very few people in the Taylor Swift family group that was not a fan of the original.
Yeah.
Because everybody else pretty much liked it, although everyone else also agrees the new version is much better.
It's just such a bop.
It really is.
She's like, we're gonna keep
Yeah.
dancing because we're not like, lose my number. I don't care.
She's like,
She's dancing at a
I don't
club.
care about you.
I like, if the first one was like a quiet conversation about like,
Now it's
please
like-
don't do this. Now she's at a club and she's like, move it. I can't. Look, you make me sad.
Yeah.
And then she drinks, like, you make me sad. Go away. We can't.
Wine
Like,
Taylor.
that's.
Wine Taylor
Oh my
showed
God,
up.
that's right.
Wine Taylor.
There
showed
was
up,
young
Yeah.
Taylor, and this is Wine Taylor,
Yeah.
and the arrangement like shows.
right.
At first, it's like, The second one's like, Sorry. She keeps dancing with the
That's
girls.
actually the most accurate way to describe it.
Right? It's like, and at the end of the new one, she's like, "You're still here."
It's
Go.
like, get out.
So that's why you like the energy of the second one. Sometimes it's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Okay. We were being decidedly unserious. We're about to get a little serious because the next
Europe.
song,
I have nothing to say about this song.
Oh God.
the next song is one that was not actually on any of the albums because it was released separately for something else. It's the song Ronin. This was written after she had read the blog that Maya Thompson had written about her 4-year-old son Ronan, who passed away in 2011 from neuroblastoma, and it was actually performed for Stand Up to Cancer when they did those concerts released on iTunes after, and then all of the proceeds at that time went to charity. I don't know if that's still true now. Before she decided to add it to Taylor's version, she of course asked Maya if it was going to be okay. She actually wrote an entire letter to Maya, because Maya is considered the co-writer of the song, because the entire thing is based on her blog.
Right.
The letter basically says, I recently completed the re-recording of my 4th album, Red. It's really exceeded my expectations in so many ways, and one of those ways is that I thought it would be appropriate to add Ronan to this album. Red was an album of heartbreak and healing, of rage and rawness, of tragedy and trauma, and of the loss of an imagined future alongside someone. I wrote Ronan while I was making Red and discovered your story as you so honestly and devastatingly told it. My genuine hope is that you'll agree with me that this song should be included on this album. As my co-writer and the rightful owner of this story in its entirety, your opinion and approval of this idea really matters to me, and I'll honor your wishes here. So obviously she got permission. That's why it's on the album. I think I said it in the last show. It's hard for me to listen to the song generally just because it really does make me so sad. I have even actually seen the blog also and read it. Like,
Oh wow.
it's so heartbreaking. Like, I even until now, it just makes me very sad. It's beautiful. It's very it's almost, if I don't know how Maya feels about it. I'm sure she loves it because she's still a Taylor Swift fan now, but it's beautiful to see someone else be able to put into a song everything you felt about this person you love so much.
Mhm.
You really never knew this person personally. The fact that they were able to draw, like Taylor was able to draw on everything that she shared about this and reference it in the song, is a beautiful thing. It's a gift in and of itself, a tribute in and of itself as well. And I'm like, it tears me apart sometimes because I'm like, it's hard not to say it's beautiful because it is, but it's also hard not to find it so sad because it is. It's like both. But like, the song just makes me so sad. I really can't listen to it. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I'll listen to it if I, like, for example, I listened to it again just for this live show because I was like, let me just listen to it now. But
Yeah.
normally I would just automatically skip it because it makes me too sad.
I can't listen to it without breaking down within the first verse.
Yep.
Right? It's
I've
beautiful.
only listened to it twice. One time I told you guys was by accident because I was cooking and it came on and I couldn't change it because my hands were covered in dough, so I had no choice. And then the second time was so that I could talk about it here. But like, I literally like can't even talk about it because I just can't even imagine being a parent in that situation, and it's just like too much for me. Like I'm too soft for this.
And
I can't. This
little.
lives on the same shelf as my sister's keeper. I'm just never touching those things.
God.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing but good things to say.
Yeah.
But I'm not going anywhere near them. Like,
I'm like getting sad just thinking about
Yeah,
it.
I literally mentally was like, I'm gonna just.
yeah. In which case, let's end with
Yeah.
like your favorite lyric.
I do have a favorite lyric actually. My favorite line is the "What if the miracle was even getting one moment with you?" Even though that line also makes me want to cry every time I hear it.
And that's
Yeah.
right, because
Yeah,
I feel,
that sentiment is so universal.
that I can jump off to make it more universal and sort of come rocketing away from the actual context, but because the specific context is what kills us. But the universal
Yeah.
piece is that we are all on borrowed time anyway,
Mm.
and any time spent with people that matter,
Mhm.
present company included, is precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if it's anything from live streams to random texts that like. Especially
Sure.
about Elden Ring that Andrew and I sort of like have every so often. I
Yeah.
value these things because I'm like, oh, there's people in the world that are worth spending time on,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
I remind myself of that too, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
and-
like
Yeah.
that's the part.
And I feel like, and did you have any lyric specifically, or we're happy to.
That the same, like that's for sure my favorite lyric. But then I do also really like the lyric that is like super sad, but flowers pile up in the worst way. No one knows what to say. Like
Yeah.
that captures losing someone so well.
I
You bet.
know. Oh no, I'm thinking about the rest of the song and I'm gonna
Well,
cry.
okay, but here's the deal, though. I feel like what Taylor's done from a musical standpoint, it would maybe be the equivalent of like the olden Renaissance-y Victorian days when somebody does a painting of a loved
Yeah.
one, right? Where you're able to capture a person's likeness, because that was the only way you could capture anything at that point in time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fashion to write pop songs back in the
Mhm.
day, maybe a poem or two, but not the way. But so to be able to capture an entire story in a song is, what a privilege and what a
Yeah.
gift.
Christ.
So yeah, all right. In which case,
See, all I thought about was like the one line where she goes, "I love you to the moon and back." I'm like, nope, I'm
All
out.
right,
I'm
we're
out.
moving
I
on.
can't do
Yeah,
this
all right,
anymore. I'm
we're
gonna
good.
start bawling.
pulling away from this station.
Okay.
Let's go country,
All right,
kids.
all right.
Yeah.
So the next song we're gonna talk about is "Better Man."
Mhm.
The official
Beginning of the
national anthem of Team Red in this household.
Okay, the reason why Macky
Because
says
Mel
that
and
and
I-
why I laugh is because like this is I think Mel's favorite of the vault.
Well, no, it's
Or
not.
one
It's the
of.
only one that she'll sing at karaoke,
Yeah,
and
it's
the only one that I can
willingly
sing
sing
with
at
her.
karaoke.
And I am huge on duets. Like I would rather sing an entire concert of duets rather than sing
But it was
like by myself, because the only thing better than singing by yourself, in my humble opinion, is singing with other people. And this is the only song that Mel sings, and we harmonize it pretty well.
yeah, it's pretty great. I'll
because
be
she's
honest.
able to hold her ground and not care, and
Because she really loves this
she
song.
still doesn't think she can sing, but whatever. That's
fine.
her, And she's always tied together with a smile and always kind of coming undone. But that's why we love her.
This song was from it was originally released by Little Big Town on their 8th studio album in 2016. But Taylor wrote it, obviously. And she actually performed it before she released it on Red Taylor's version. She
Nice.
sang it during
Oh yeah, wasn't that
the rep-
the
just-
Rep tour?
no. She actually sang it at the Bluebird Cafe
The Bluebird Cafe.
in Nashville
Got
in
that right.
2018. That was like ages ago. And then she also did sing it on the Reputation tour, actually. Also in
Okay.
Nashville.
Well,
Also in 2018.
I mean, you pick a good place, right?
Yeah, and then she eventually also used it as a surprise song on the Eras tour. This song actually won awards before she released it.
Ooh.
It won the Country Music Association Award for Song of the Year in
Seriously?
2017, and it also won again the Nashville Songwriters Association International Award for.
I just love how country,
It's actually called the 10 Songs I Wish I'd Written Award, which I find very.
I just love how country and heartbreak are intrinsically just tied together with a smile. No, just I
Yeah.
love.
Really.
No, because it's like we're gonna sing about this now, and it's so painful, but it's
Yeah.
just so good. I
I mean, I'm glad
will
like
always
the,
love country. in
the
that
original
sense.
recording that Little Big Town did got its
Oh no,
due.
yeah, that was
I'm
the one
glad,
that sort of
I'm
like won
glad.
the awards.
But I'm also glad that it won for the songwriting thing because
Oh.
honestly, the song itself, lyrically,
It's so good.
yeah,
It's so interesting too because it was like very well received, and if this had just been another track on Red, it probably would have gotten lumped into Taylor complaining about men again.
Pretty much.
But like people universally acknowledge that it genuinely is a good song,
which is
which is deserved. Which like literally all of her songs are, but
I'm just glad like it sort of was outside the context of Red itself at the time, which
Yeah,
I think made it,
infinitely more satisfying. I think.
Yeah, I've actually listened to the Little Big Town version, and I can objectively say I understand why people like it, but I also don't like it as much as Taylor's version.
so tracks.
But yeah, because it's the style. Like it went full full country.
Because
Taylor,
you've also heard it, right?
no, because Taylor
Yeah.
was always pop country.
yeah,
right?
and they're like country,
And they're
which
like,
is fine.
like just straight.
And
which
to be
is,
fair, it works really well as a country.
oh no,
song.
are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's literally Sugar. I mean, we're gonna get to Sugar Land in a bit.
Yeah, which
But
can't wait.
It is, but it's so good. The hooks in this song
Yeah.
are so like this
So good.
is straight up why Taylor is
I really love
one
this
a
song. Actually, it's one of my
great
favorite.
pop songwriter.
Kristen, anything else you have to say
About Better Man?
about
Yeah,
Better Man
favorite
before
lyrics.
favorite lyric, favorite?
Yeah, I do like how she says like the back of my hand, like she did in Breathe
Yes.
from
Yes.
debut. That like immediately reminded me of that. And then again, like I think this one sounds more country than some of the other ones on the album, but there's still like a more diverse mix of instruments, which is fun. And I think like even one of the instruments like sounds like what longing would sound like to me.
Oh no, God, yeah, like half the country instruments are all about longing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just you play it right, it's like, ooh, yeah, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, so
Mm.
it's a whole thing.
And I like the verse where she's like reassuring herself in the mirror that leaving him was the bravest thing that she
Yeah.
could
Yes,
have
that's my
done.
favorite line.
That is
I
so
know the bravest
good.
thing I ever did was run. Oof.
Yeah. And then also like when she says talking down to me like you knew I'd always be around, that seems like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
Um,
Sounds like Dick Gyllenhaal to me too.
yeah. And just like, oh, what did I write? And it was always on your terms. I waited on every careless word, hoping they might turn sweet again like it was in the beginning. That like genuinely sounds like dating a sociopath or like someone who's emotionally abusive.
Just
Like,
get
gives
slidey.
you enough to hook you and then just goes off the rails and then it confuses you because they're sweet again for a second. And yeah.
I mean,
Oh, and side note, this version on Taylor's version was co-produced with Aaron Dessner, which does not surprise me one bit.
yo,
Yeah.
Does
Aaron
not surprise me
Dessner.
one bit. Do you have a favorite lyric in this one?
back of my hand
Of
again, like
course.
Kristen said, also a breathe, sort of like, again, it's an idea, right? It's like it's like, how can you tell people that you know something well and make it an
Mhm.
accessible thought? So back of my hand has been in the colloquialism for decades,
Mhm.
maybe even a century now. So I love that.
Mhm.
But for me, it's the incredible self-awareness of sometimes in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and I just miss you, and I just wish you
Yeah.
were a better man. Like, just that
Ah.
self-awareness of, I know where all of my feelings are, and this is where this is the entire spectrum of missing you, liking you, knowing I shouldn't be doing any of those
Yeah,
things, knowing exactly why I shouldn't be doing
Mhm.
any of those things,
But acknowledging
and
that
yet
it,
coming rocketing back to, but I can't do anything about the fact that I actually do feel like this anyway.
Yeah.
And that's how I like my emotions, just laid out, card cataloged, just, like with,
identified.
I
Yeah.
take care of my emotions the way Alexa tabs her books. And if you've read any one of her tabbed books before, that's exactly how I process every single emotion that goes through my entire. And I keep all of those notes. And by the way, I do that for everybody else that I know too,
Mhm.
whether I like it or not. Like, for those of you who
It's just
watched
automatic.
Inside Out recently, I have a whole
Ah,
crew of minions
movie.
just tabbing, coding, and everything, and understanding how the
Sorting,
human. Yeah. So for a song to do all of that to beautiful music, I'm like, how is this not like fodder for me personally? Like,
Yeah.
and I can even go to the depth of, all I have to do is
Oh
run.
my god.
The desperation in that note, that one note tension, which is the jump off point into the chorus.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's a musical theater thing, where the best musical theater writers imbue the subtext into the actual notes themselves,
Mhm.
right side by the actual lyric, the inflection, the intonation, everything. It's so good, and she just basically does that by default.
Yeah.
Jumping off of that, surprising no one, my favorite set of lyrics is actually the entire bridge. Because like it's just so
It's so good.
basically it's I hold on to this pride because these days it's all I have, and I gave to you my best, and we both know you can't say that. And I like this part, the part where it's sort of a little bit repetitive, where she goes, I wish you were a better man. I wonder what we would have become if you were a better man. We might still be in love if you were a better man, and you would have been the one if you were a better. Again, it's the same thing Macky was talking about, where it's like she knows like her place in this and her feelings in this, and she also recognized like if you were a different person, if you had been better than you were, there's a good chance that this might have survived. We might have made it through whatever conflict, whatever differences we had. But I like that it's so, again, it's very much like State of Grace in that like this is all in hindsight, right? Like she's so self-aware about the fact that like you just weren't this
Yeah.
person. I wish you were, but you weren't. And obviously, as usual, her bridges are great. So unsurprising that the bridge is the thing that I latched onto in the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just
I
something about
like my favorite lyric in this one is never again. I just wish I could forget when it was magic.
Yeah. It's just so good. It's
So
so
good.
sad, but also so like it's weird. It's also not weirdly, I should say. It's sad, but it's also got that sense of like being empowered behind it because she recognizes and she's like, I'm not going back there.
there is power in self-awareness,
Except in my
That is-
brain, but like, you know.
no, but that is the hill I will die on.
Yeah, right?
Even if you're down on the floor, because that's just exactly how you feel. If you know where everything is, you are infinitely more powerful than you
Agreed.
ever believe you
Agreed.
can be at that.
Yeah.
Agreed. Better man.
And also, that's a shonen anime thing. You still know where up, down, left, and right is, no matter how many.
Even if you're on the floor.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's
Bleeding from orifices, you know.
like Lee Bardugo has mentioned many times. Uh, uh, World building is sense of power, sense of place. You got the power, you know where
And
your place is.
places.
Yep.
Anything else before
Same
we
in
move on?
life.
Anything
Sorry.
else? Are we moving on?
No, the next one's my favorite.
Okay.
Let's
Next
go.
song is Nothing New, which features Phoebe Bridgers. The background of this is quite interesting, actually. Did you know? I don't think Macky knew this either, and I didn't know this either until I was researching it. Did you know that the lyrics of this were actually in one of the deluxe journals released with Lover?
Yes.
There's literally like a small snippet on one of the journal pages where it says, "I'm getting older and less sure of what you like about me anyway. How can a person know everything at 18 but nothing at 22? Will you still want me when I'm nothing new?"
Mm-hmm.
It's about her fame and, how she fears what's going to happen when she loses it or if she loses it. There's actually literally a quote where it's like, "I've been thinking a lot about getting older and relevancy and how all my heroes have all ended up alone. I wrote a song on it called Nothing New, and it's about being scared of aging and things changing and losing what you have. And if that is not the most relatable sentiment in the entire universe, regardless of whether you're a famous person or not, I don't know what else to tell you." It's also inspired by Joni Mitchell's A Case of You, or A Case, A Case of You. So Kristin, since you said it was your favorite, tell us, why is it your favorite? What else? Do you have any other fun facts about it?
Going off of what you just said, Taylor wrote this after she learned how to play the Appalachian dulcimer, and that was the instrument that Joni Mitchell played on her album Blue. And then also fun fact is when Taylor texted Phoebe to see if she would sing on this track with her, Phoebe responded by saying, "I've been waiting for this text my entire life." Which is so
Girl,
funny.
we're all waiting for that text.
Yeah. She said that they had never met or interacted in any way before. So like for their first contact ever for her to be asked to collaborate was just like she blacked out because she was so like shocked and excited.
Understandable.
Yeah. So this one is my favorite of any of the vault tracks. I'm like actually like obsessed with the overall sound of this song, and like so like the first lyrics are, "They tell you when you're young, girls go out and have your fun, then they hunt and slay the ones who actually do it." Like, wow, you captured the sexism that some women experience in literally 3 sentences.
It's still happening.
Yeah. Like I was just like, wow. And then also like I feel like this song, she, as we said, she's touching on the dark side of fame, how these people only raise you to cage you, and then the circus life makes you mean.
Love it.
I think like it's so hypocritical the way that the media thrives on like idolizing young women, and then once they're soaring through the sky, they're the first ones to tear them down and start rumors about them and speculate on things that they should have no involvement in. And I feel like this song is like the like gothic twin sister of 22. Because while 22 captures like the high highs of being young and going out and having a great time with friends, Nothing New captures like the come down and like the low of being alone and like maybe having like a fun night out, but you had too much to drink and now you're experiencing all of these like insecure thoughts. And realizing like that you don't really know anything about the way that the world works.
Actually, that's so accurate.
Thank you for that, Kristin.
You're welcome. And then we're also seeing like seeing her worry about things like being an aging pop star and how the media loves a newer, younger, naiver face to start the cycle anew. And the fever dream of meeting her replacement and then saying that like she'll pretend that to be happy for her, but then will cry herself to sleep. And that also just exactly reminded me of like Clara Bow and The Future's Bright, dazzling. Always the younger, newer person that garners the attention. I love the whole song from start to finish. I love the sound of it. Like everything about it is just like perfect to me.
is this Jessica and Elizabeth Wakefield? Like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh. I love that you just brought up the Sweet Valley High twins.
Right?
Like,
I love it anytime Elizabeth's there. She's like, "Are you kidding? Are you kidding?"
Actually, that's kind of the energy.
it is.
That dark sister, I thought, okay, maybe they're friends, but yeah, because 22 was, and then in my head I'm like,
That's so funny.
yeah, but then if they're sisters, then they're the same age. If they're the same age, they're either super stair
Or
stepped
twins.
or they're twins. Is this? And then I'm like, Jessica and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I think we're dating ourselves. Just a tiny bit.
That's the SVU like duology I'll read. Like,
Yeah.
No, you should read their diaries. That's the most dramatic extra.
Sure, there you go. Yeah, I would read this one. Where Jess is like, it's a great night out. And
Spoiler
Elizabeth's
alert.
like, you're the same.
You know how the diaries goes, right?
Don't.
This
I
is
didn't
a
read
little
that-
off
I didn't read that part.
Have you ever read those, Kristin? Do you know
I've read every Sweet Valley High book in
Do you
existence.
remember the one where it's Jessica's diary and she and Todd fall in love?
Yeah,
it's a whole thing.
Jess, that's a
No,
that
no,
is-
no.
I can't like
no,
yeah.
no, you have to understand the context.
15,
of
20
it.
years later, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Unfortunately, these books do not hold up.
Well, I'm sure they don't hold up. Like
There are
I'm
some really like insane things that happen, and then in the next book, it's just like it doesn't matter. Like I'm pretty sure that Elizabeth like kills someone drunk driving in one, and then in the next book, it's just like anyway,
hot
now
take,
what's happening?
hot take, which can only be made in hindsight. The people who wrote all of these Sweet Valley anythings have the same object permanence that Michael Bay has with Transformers movies. Like we're just making a new one. Enjoy. Like it doesn't like we're not gonna take continuity. What's that? More robots. Like I don't, and explosions. Here's more twins. Like I don't.
Yeah, it's almost like they like pulled like things out of the hat, and we're like, all right, I guess this is gonna happen in this book.
It's like a little like reel in the back. It's like, where are they going now? And there's like a country, and it's just Estonia, cool. And then, it's a field trip or exchange student thing. It's like it's just anyway, yeah. So.
Side note, apparently, and I don't know how true this is, and because I just Googled it, he does end up with Jessica. Apparently.
What?
Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, hold on one second.
Okay.
It's funny, I'll tell you this now, because there's the point where they actually end up having a relationship is behind Elizabeth's back. But Elizabeth is also dating someone at the time somewhere else because they're having a long. It's like this whole thing. And I'm just like, this is like Kristin will know.
Well,
I know
Todd
we're
has
like
a type.
we're gonna be done with this side.
Why am I low-key judging Todd Wilkins right now? Why does that opinion matter?
We'll come back to this. Like, okay, we already were just talking about like how unrealistic this is. Like, do you remember, Kristin? Because you read all of them.
Yeah.
Do you remember the book where they go abroad and they become au pairs for the summer?
I do, yeah.
and then one of them, I don't remember if it's Jessica or Liz, they end up dating the prince.
Yes, I think it's Jessica.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I was telling him like, listen, I can't take any of it seriously because like if this is where the story went,
I know.
No.
I always wanted to be a member of the Unicorn Club and paint my room purple, but my parents wouldn't let me because they said I would feel like I was inside of a grape.
Well, Kristin, it's never too late. I mean, I would have been a member of the Unicorn Club if they let
I probably would have also
boys in. So,
it's so
like
funny
just
to me.
honorary. But the best that I got in high school was
Lila Fowler.
and don't get me started on Lila. Anyway, but the best that I got was I got to be Ducky for the California Diaries.
Oh, I do love that.
Like because there was a bunch of us in like, and I'm actually there was a bunch of us in high school where they were the sort of like the weird outcasts and whatever, and they just happened to be all the members of the California Diaries, Amalia, Maggie, and of course Dawn. I'm actually visiting Dawn for her birthday.
Oh yeah,
like in California next.
It's very funny to me.
And I was kind of their honorary Ducky, so that was the best that I got. But low-key, I kind of wanted to be a unicorn.
Anyway, now that we're done with
mostly because I had a serious crush on Mandy Miller.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She was cancer survivor.
I know.
She had the thrift store thing going for her. I'm like, I like this one. This one seems like she has a good head on her shoulders.
Sorry, I'm just literally flashbacking to a lot of Anyway, going back. Nothing New is also produced by Aaron Dessner for this version, which unsurprising. And the only other story I will share about it is I really like the song, but like I think after I got to attend the Eras tour when Phoebe was her opening act, so I did get to hear them sing it together. It's so good.
So
Like,
good.
it's so
Very
good.
lucky.
It was so good. Anyway, favorite lyrics. I only have one, so I guess I'll share mine. And it's the line that goes, "And I wake up in the middle of the night. It's like I can feel time moving," because that actually is such a
Yeah.
universal feeling.
Well, yeah,
Because
because
like,
there's no man holding you down, making time stand still. Sorry. Sorry.
because you're not paralyzed by it. Kristin, do you have a favorite lyric?
The whole first verse is my favorite lyric, and then I also do really love "How can a person know everything at 18 and nothing at 22?"
That's mine. Like just the complete reversal of
Yeah.
right. And again, thank you for now the minions
Now we're
in my
never
head.
gonna.
No, now
not
the minions in
gonna.
my head are actually putting together a Sweet Valley musical to Taylor Swift music. And
You know
I can't
what? You
make,
could
I can't-
probably do it.
I can't
I'm
make them
sure you
stop.
could.
We'll have to text about this after.
Okay,
Because this is
funny to me.
100% Elizabeth Wakefield pragmatism, where she's like,
Oh,
Jessica, you're
God.
insane. And just put that margarita down. You know what I mean? Like that's just
So freaking funny though.
and she's like holding her hair up. How could everybody know nothing and nothing at 22? I
Yeah.
feel like she's musing as everyone's getting drunk. It's hilarious, but I love that line because it's true. Like there's that point where you're so sure and then adulthood hits you and you're like, why do I not know any of these things?
Yeah.
So
It's so funny to me. Okay. Now that we're done talking about that and sidetracking ourselves into Sweet Valley, let's talk about the next song,
I
which is
blame
another
me.
one that was actually previously released by someone else.
Mhm.
It's a song called Babe, and it's actually one that I didn't know the background of until I was looking into it for this live show. But I did not realize it had been co-written with Patrick Monahan, who is one of the founding members of the band Train.
Oh,
And they were supposed to release it together as part
wouldn't
of
that be
Red.
wild?
She kind of decided, like, no, we're not going to do it. But he did have nothing but nice things to say about how
Oh, good.
she
What did
was
he
as
say?
a writer. Specifically from an old article. He said, it's a song called Babe. It's her song. I was just lucky enough to be a part of it with her, and I'm going to ask the same of her in the future. She's very talented. She's a no-nonsense young kid. I'm not going through different relationships and breakups and all the stuff that young people do, so her perspective is very fresh, and I think that's what I admired the most about her. So he had nothing but nice things to say.
Listen, I have adults. I say adults like I'm not an adult. I have adults in my life, or at least I grew up with adults in my life who even sort of like in their mid 30s, early 40s, even 50s, were going through sort of like breakups and stuff. So Babe is 100% universal in the pocket. Literally that.
Anyway, continuing on from that, this was actually released in 2018 by the band Sugarland. Taylor is actually a fan of theirs, and she was the one who reached out and was like, hey, I have this song. Do you want to do it? And they were just like excited about it, but also nervous about it because they obviously wanted to do right by her song. And she eventually, when they did release it, she did a whole Instagram post about how like this was a song she had co-written that she wanted to release on Red, but instead she ended up letting Sugarland do it, and they breathed a whole new life into it, which she really liked. She was still quite involved because she was being in and the vocals.
That's so funny because I didn't actually know any of that background stuff. And the first thing that I like wrote in my notes was, this song sounds like an early 2000s boy band song. And I had no idea that was the case.
I mean, you've got a little bit of Train influence there. Also, fun fact, because right now I was thinking Taylor Swift collaborated with a lot of country artists, but if you want to kill a bunch of older millennial-ish Swifties, let her do a collaboration with Shania Twain. That'll murder me.
Oh my God,
right?
I would die.
Just murder me on the spot. Because in my head I'm like, Sugarland, they're lovely, but not Shania. Anyway,
you know what? I'm gonna Google it. Anyway, we have a few things to talk about because she doesn't technically have a video for this, but she is in the video of this song when it first came out. Which I feel like it's gonna be very amusing.
Okay, so check this out.
Wait, what do you want to do? Lyrics first or video? I feel like lyrics first and then
lyrics
video.
First and the video.
Okay. So, do you have any other facts, Kristin, or lyrics that you liked in the song?
My favorite lyric is "Your secret has its consequence, and that's on you, babe."
I know you have a favorite lyric.
Oh yeah, we're a wreck. You're the wrecking ball.
That is a good one.
I low-key had to Google, did Miley's Wrecking Ball come out?
Yeah,
like what came out?
I was thinking that too.
Right? I
think it was after.
When was the word wrecking ball used in a song?
Yeah.
I think it's after.
Officially put out. You know what I mean? Because
right.
you can't tell with these things, but I I love the concept and the visual of a wrecking ball and a wreck.
Yeah.
Mostly from being one. So I like when I'm feel seen and heard. Mostly heard, less seen. And anyway, so any other?
And my favorite lyric is you broke the sweetest promise that you never should have made.
So Taylor,
I know, right?
Yeah.
like that is Taylor straight up from debut. Because there's a purity to that where a teenager could have written that, but also an adult who's just like still clinging to that youthful sort of like purity of, you shouldn't have done that.
Anyway, now we can talk very briefly about this music video. So, Sugarland did a video for this song that Taylor actually had some input in.
Okay.
Are we surprised at how the video turns out? Set the scene.
Picture this. Sorry, I'm channeling Estelle Getty again, who I adore forever. So you've got the lady from Sugarland sort of like dressed up as like this lovely housewife. Rich housewife. She's got her hair coiffed and she's serving dinner like it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and he's sitting at the end. And Brandon Routh
Plays the husband.
So a lot of people know Brandon Routh as Superman, but in the most recent years, his most sort of like famous work was on Legends of Tomorrow or something. The Flash spinoff on the CW, where he plays the Atom.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Where he plays the Atom. So he stopped being like Clark Kent and more like a fuddy-duddy, I'm a professor and also can shrink myself down to like tiny. He had a suit. It was funny. He was a rich guy. So lovely goofball. So I'm seeing more of that as this whole thing like pops up. And they're having, and it's obviously a song about sort of like infidelity. And who should he be? Which floozy should he be cheating on his wife with, if not a very red-headed Taylor Swift in a pink secretary's outfit that he whines and dies throughout the whole thing? And I swear to God, there's this one. So as the thing progresses, there's this one scene where Taylor sort of like walks past the wife while the wife's in the office, and that look in her face is literally, I swear, it might as well have been the same girl from You Belong With Me.
Yeah, the brunette.
The brunette. Like she has
Same
that
energy.
same kind of like ugh, and the disdain that she has for this one. I'm like, woman, you have embodied this villain so much. And I thought it was okay. You're playing her one-dimensional because it's fun and it's a fun song. Oh no. Towards the end, because Taylor does the backup vocals for this whole thing. In the end, when the wife's and the husband's marriage falls apart, the affair falls apart as well. So when she sings I'm on the kitchen floor, it's actually the younger woman who's on the kitchen floor after sort of like being broken up with, or rather not committed to, not broken up with, but rather not committed to. And now both women are singing Babe.
How could you do this, babe?
To this cheating
to Brandon Routh.
rat bastard. So so
it's a good like twist.
Yeah, it's a lovely, and I'm just like, oh, that's right. You love nuanced characters in Taylor Swift's universes. There, especially the latter universes. There's are no real. There's always more to the story. There are no villains. There's just people that are messy and whatever. And so for me, I'm like, oh my God, they're both singing it to him. This is so cool. You're not a side character. You're kind of a B. Like you think the husband's the B plot. Secretary's the B plot.
Yeah.
And something about it's fascinating to watch because it's like, oh my God, it's so poppy.
Yeah.
But it reads like a YA sort of like,
or maybe adult,
or an adult
like
kind
a
of
new
thing,
adult kind of thing,
where both women end up on the floor.
Yeah, they're both at the end of it, like,
right. And while one woman is sort of like, more mature and so understands,
she's just like, it's over.
It's over. She kicks him out of the house. This young woman is just suddenly realizing, oh, this is not.
He's
how
taking
could you?
Advantage
How could you
of
do
me?
that? Yeah. It's so wild. And redheaded Taylor is a thing for Red.
Yeah, I love redheaded Taylor.
Her hair in this one, I am like,
it's her aesthetic, Kristin. To just give you a reference, it's like very the main character in Mad Men.
Oh,
it's kind of like that. That's
because it's sort of like it's sort of like set in that era.
It kind of looks like that.
In which case, Kristin, it is giving old school Jean and Babs. I can't even begin.
I know. It's like
I am like when I saw her, I'm like so pretty.
I have to watch this. I did not know this existed.
Like I like Jean Grey when she had that hair. It's just like
Macky was really
okay. So we're talking Babs during Pixie Boots Robin era, and we're talking Jean during like Green Marvel Girl era. So in my head, I'm like, it's that hair.
She
And-
looks really
Right.
good. I'm
and it's
not
great.
gonna lie to you.
And it's so funny that she gets to mac on Brandon Ralph the whole time, and he's just checking her out. Which I thought
I was like, you picked this
you-
person.
you
You
get-
guys picked this
you
person
guys
for a
picked him.
reason.
You get what you like. It's fun.
That one was produced by Antonov, and just to
I
mention,
mean-
we're not too surprised.
Team Antonov, Swift all the way. I
Right.
would vote them
Mhm.
into anything. Really.
But yeah, fun facts about Babe for you, Kristin.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't know any of this.
It was very. I had forgotten about the music video until Macky reminded me. He's like, "Do you remember this is Redhead?" I'm like, "Hold on, wait, what?"
And then it wasn't until Alexa told me, it's like, but go to the end. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when I saw that there was a real story. Which, again, I'll talk about like Taylor and
Stories,
music videos and stories.
We'll get there.
when we
We'll
get
get
there.
there.
We're almost there.
But it's so good.
So
We're
close.
Speaking of songs that we like,
Oh my God.
the next song is like arguably Macky's favorite vault track on Red.
He's already dead. Stop it.
Arguably, it is also my favorite. Well, no, that's not true. It's tied for something else with my favorite vault track on Red. But the next song is "Message in a Bottle."
It reminds me that
Mhm.
And we can
dead heart is
all-
alive.
We can all agree that this is a Harry Styles song.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like I'm
Ah.
like, there's no way this song is about anyone else in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
We got the London line.
it has the distinction of being the first ever song she did right with Max Martin and Shellback, which was not
You
released
know
on the original
what?
album.
You know
Not
what?
surprised.
Yeah.
And for the Taylor's version, she did end up getting Shellback to come and help with the production on it, which is great. I love Message in a Bottle. Not surprising, given that it's very pop leaning, very 1989 in sound. Like,
Yes.
let's be real. It's the one where I was like, I get why it's Red, but I also am like, this could have been on 1989. We could have, like, it could have.
Absolutely.
She makes the old feel young again. Like that's my take on it. It's
God,
like, oh, am I 15 again?
Yeah.
Is happening?
I love everything about the song, from like the lyrics down to the sound and the production of it. It is exactly my cup of tea when it comes to Taylor Swift songs. I know it's Macky's also, because I swear to God, there was one time where all he was listening to was this song, like over and over
Is it
and
even in my
over.
top 10? I swear to God.
I don't know. I'd be shocked if it
I'd be
wasn't.
shocked if it wasn't. But
Anyway, while Macky's looking that up, Kristin, any thoughts?
any thoughts on this?
I agree. Same. Like, I think this is one of the best tracks on this section of the album. I really love it so much. It's so like fun, and it's so like pop. It actually, so like the theme of the song and everything, it actually reminded me of, do you know that song by The Police? Like SOS, like sending out an SOS message.
yeah,
Message
yeah.
in a bottle. Yeah.
That it made me think of that, but like this is like a more like poppy current version.
Oh, no, the
yeah,
spectrum.
yeah.
Like this is the Police was sort of like esoteric and like whatever. This is 100% straight in the pop pocket.
Yeah. And she, I think like in an interview, she had said that she views songwriting as being like a message in a bottle. Like she releases a song into the world in hopes that it'll find its way to the person that it's meant for. So I like that she actually had a message in a bottle song.
Same. So good. I just love this song so much.
It's so good.
It really plays off of Come Back Be Here, actually, because you know how in Come Back Be Here, it's like she doesn't really know that much about the person, but she already has such strong feelings.
Yeah.
Same energy.
Yeah.
And there's something so youthful, even about the musical beats to it, and those glottal sort of like those things. It's very Speak Now. It's very debut. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, and there's a purity to that, because musically those are choices that you have to sort of make, and sort of like those ums and those uhs when we speak. This is the musical version of that. That's sort of like, you know, uncertainty but certainty, but like, you know, you're heading in a direction, you just don't know, you can't put the words to it.
Mhm.
And like it's been a while since we've had the like those glottals, except for the don't look at me, which is the older version. That's a different thing. But no, I swear to God, like this song has such a youthfulness to it, and
Mhm.
and it's almost a naivety, I feel, because I say almost because it sounds naive, but no, you could be. There's a self-awareness that it's possible. You are on the precipice of possibility here,
Which I love.
which isn't that like everyone's favorite beginning of a
Yeah.
fluffy YA.
Of course.
Yeah.
Everything.
No, that first blush, which is unlike State of Grace, which is like, why am I sad? What is happening? It's
This one is
supposed
just
to-
like happy.
It's so jubilant, but I want to die. Here, it's just like it
Explains
aligns.
a lot about why you like this one.
Right? It's
Yeah.
just, this is how you do it. This is, for me, this is like, there's no,
I really love this.
you know, like,
So good.
State of Grace is like Silent Hill. It's like, is the fog gonna come in? Like here,
Okay.
it's just straight up Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah.
This reference is funny.
And now Tigger is living next to you.
But yeah, I personally really love this song.
Me too.
Favorite lyrics.
The entire chorus, the entire bridge.
That's literally what I have written down. I have the entire chorus written down on my, because that's also my favorite. Because it's the same thing that I could be, you could be the one that I love. I could be the one you dream of.
Yeah.
But a message in a bottle is all I can do. I also find the second verse very funny. The part where she's like, these days I'm restless, work days are endless.
Yeah.
I find that part hilarious because I'm like, relatable.
Yeah.
I have one last one, but Kristin, what do you have?
I also like the lyric, and I became hypnotized by freckles and bright eyes, tongue tied.
That's such a cool lyric.
Which is oddly enough, and this might skew what's his face. This either will skew what's his face,
Gyllenhaal?
Kennedy.
Oh,
This might
Connor,
skew
Connor.
this might skew Kennedy, or it was an idea that she carried over from Kennedy, because when she was writing with Ed, your freckles in your smile and bright eyes is
true,
also
true.
what is it?
A lyric in there.
A lyric in
Yeah.
there with what is that song called? Your freckles in your smile.
Everything
Everything has changed.
I
There
was
you
like,
go.
how do you not remember?
I swear to God, my brain in your 40s, it's a thing. But yeah, Kristin, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, here's the thing. But time moves faster, replaying your laughter.
Oh, I love that line
Disaster.
too.
What the hell? Vocally, sonically, lyrically, are you kidding with that line?
Time's moving again.
So, but yeah, time's moving again because I ain't held down, but I want you to. It's a whole thing, and then just that lyric of just that wordplay. She fit an entire, and the self-awareness
The
of
disaster part.
This is I knew you were trouble when you walked in,
Mhm.
but a little more benign and a little more
Uh-huh.
manic, as opposed to the hindsight that is I knew you were trouble.
That's too funny to be actually. Now that you said it.
This was the moment she knew that she
Yeah.
was. She's like replaying your laughter. Disaster. Ugh.
And yes, fine.
Because now
It's
you're
fine.
so far away and I'm down.
It's fine. We get good things out of it. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, definitely one of the songs that I listen to the most on Red Bulb for sure. Until now. Okay, if nobody has anything else to say, we can move on to the next one, which is also a fun one to talk about.
Y'all can take this.
Okay, the song is I Bet You Think About Me, which features Chris Stapleton. And obviously this one is a Gyllenhaal. It can't be anyone else. Based on the lyrics, it has to be a Jake Gyllenhaal song.
Right.
Just because, like, just the description she uses, even if it's not exactly him, it just has to refer to someone who's a little older, a little more
Yeah.
experienced,
Worldly
runs in
wise.
a bit more like, I guess, upper crust circles.
Especially like when she says, I bet you think about me when you're at your cool indie concert.
Yeah. No,
Yep,
because those
yep.
are the concerts that of the bands that produce those cool indie records that are much cooler than hers.
Exactly.
This one
Just fits,
is
doesn't it?
co-produced by Aaron Dessner. Not surprised.
Mr. Desner.
I don't have much more about this that is not related to the video except my lyrics. So, Kristin, if you have anything you want to share before we get to lyrics, feel free.
The only other thing that I would say about it is that this one also is like much more country than the rest of Red, which is makes sense with Chris Stapleton on it. But yeah, otherwise I have a lot like on the video, but not
All right.
yeah. So these are
Okay.
so fun.
Quickly before I get to the video, the lyrics that I like, there's two. One is when she goes, but now that we're done and it's over, I bet you couldn't believe when you realized I'm harder to forget than I was to leave.
Yeah.
And I love that it
That's
ended, I
cheeky.
bet you think about me. And I'm like, yes.
I have that too, that I'm harder to forget than to leave,
Yeah.
and I bet you think about me. And something that's also like really fun about that, and then also again, like we'll see later in the All Too Well film is that like in the beginning, she has that Pablo Neruda quote, which she said inspired Red, which is love is so short, forgetting is so long.
Mhm. So it's like an interesting contrast because it's the
I adore
opposite
that.
almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
The other lyric I really like is when she goes, "Does it make you feel sad that the love that you're looking for is the love that you had?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, I get it. I understand.
Is it just me, or is my response to the song kind of like, I don't think he thinks about you though? Because I'm that friend. I'm the friend that has had conversations.
Oh yeah.
Is he thinking of me? And I'm like, I don't know, honey.
Yes,
I,
but this is her
I'm
talking
always-
to herself. It's not really.
I
her
know.
talking
So,
to
so
them.
but
Yeah.
I've heard like my in my experience, I've heard
You're
these
just like,
lines
no.
talk about me, and I'm just like, and I'm always the one who has to say, they've moved on.
I mean, you're
So
not
no.
wrong.
So again, that's my zeitgeist. Clearly, that's not.
Do you have
necessarily-
any favorite lyrics? Do you have any other favorite lyrics, Kristin?
I also really like the lyric, I don't have to be your shrink to know you'll never be happy.
I do like that
think
lyric.
that's funny.
This one is also low key like
This-
sassy Taylor
No,
again because it's just coming out.
yeah.
This is the Sonic equivalent of like just sort of like witchcraft, where you're just like poking, like
In
Yeah.
never be happy.
Well, it's kind of
just-
like Cousin too, All Too Well almost,
Yeah.
because like in All Too Well, it's her not being able to forget, but also hinting that that person won't forget. This one is really like, no, you're the one who won't forget. It's
Yeah.
like, no, it's you. I know.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, if you don't have any more lyrics, I'm happy to start talking about the music video and just give like some brief facts before we talk about like random things that are in it that are interesting.
Yes.
So the video came out in November 15, 2021. It's actually Blake Lively's directorial debut.
Ugh.
She and Taylor were the ones who collaborated, obviously, on the story and
Gorgeous.
everything. It starred Miles Teller as the groom in the wedding video, and his real life wife, Kayleigh, as the bride. And Taylor is the ex who crashes his party and paints it red.
Yes.
Intrusive thoughts have.
And there are a lot of nods to different parts of T.S. lore in this video. I'm sure Kristin probably came across a lot of them in her research. So I will let you, take over because I'm pretty sure you probably have every single thing I have. So
I don't think so. I think you're gonna have a lot more than me.
No,
I only got to watch this one time.
okay.
So I didn't actually like look. I was very focused on All Too Well, honestly. So I feel like
It's okay. You
went
can
there.
definitely have more input there.
But what I'll say, just like feelings about it, I really liked how Taylor is constantly like in red against like a sea of white. I love the scene like messing up the wedding cake. I think that's so
Yeah.
funny. Obviously, the one thing that I did see is the red scarf.
Mhm.
I also think Taylor sitting at the kids' table is so funny, and like that also it plays into her like Jake seeing her as
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
And I love when she like, steps in and then she dances with him in the white dress, but then it turns red and then everything else starts turning red because I still see it all in my head and burning red. Those are like my main feelings and triggers.
Yeah, actually, the red, like her being represented by everything red in that is one of my favorite things because like they're basically framing it as like you feel super strongly about me,
Yeah.
not about this wedding that you're at, about me. And I think that's just so funny because it's really subtle if you're not really thinking too hard about it. But if you are thinking very hard about it, it's like
Yeah.
everything's still burning red with your ex.
Right.
There are a few nods. So the red scarf is obviously one of them. I still I find that part so funny because it's the gift she gives the bride.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay. The cake is actually in and of itself a lot of lore because there's a design on it that mimics the ring that she wears on the cover of Red Taylor's version.
Oh.
And then the bottom layer, if you look at the cake design, it's seagulls.
Which is an
So everyone was
illusion.
like, ooh, 1989.
Right.
The cake is also red velvet, which is the same thing the cake in Blank Space was as well, which is something everyone likes to point out. She actually wears the red ring later on when she's, the part
in
where
her
she's
red
like,
gloves.
Yeah.
so she's wearing it. And then the video itself too is sort of a nod to Speak Now, except
Yeah.
that it's the opposite. It didn't end with her like running away with the groom.
That's what I was thinking too when I was watching it.
it's a nod to that. The hat, there's a part where she's sitting at the kids' table and she starts like, turning tricks. The hat is actually, it's not the exact hat, but it is similar to the hat she actually used on the Red tour.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that everyone sort of freaked out about was like when she's wearing the red dress at the end, it looks like the red dress from the original deluxe edition of the Speak Now album.
Which they colored purple.
Oh, yeah.
That dress. It looked like that. So everyone's theory was that the next re-release would be Speak Now. So there was this whole argument about which one it would be, because she also had the
1989 stuff. Yeah.
But then, of course, who was successful in guessing the correct next re-release? Whoever guessed Speak Now was correct, because that was the next re-release.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were a lot of fun nods to it, and I love that she got to work with people she's friends with on it, because I think that made it more fun for her. And plus, like, Miles Teller's wife is a fan. So, like, for her, she was just like, I don't even care that I'm the jilted guy. I am in this video.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One time, Taylor Swift punched me in the face.
That face
was awesome.
I know.
I also really like her outfit, like when she first walks in.
Yeah.
And she has, like, the cute little, like, side ponytail, and, like, she just looks adorable.
Like, it was fun. Like, even though the song is quite sad to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, sassy but sad. Like, the video itself is just fun to watch, because it's like Taylor being chaotic at this person's wedding.
It's chaotic Taylor. Oh my god.
And like enabled by Blake Lively.
That's my alignment. Chaotic petty.
Well, that's exactly, like, I mean,
that's how I imagine
the fact that you got to do it with, like, her best friend, because that's when you get to be the most, like, yourself and the most petty about things, because it's like good fun. So, like, to collab with Blake on it was probably a blast.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had a great time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Miles Teller's wife was just like having the time of her life at this shoot.
Taylor could, like, if Taylor had auditions for, like, we're gonna shoot somebody out of a cannon, and I would be like happy to just be there.
Anything.
Yeah.
Taylor's gonna step on this person.
It's like, great, sure.
Yeah, like, is on my head. Like, how do we?
I mean, you're not wrong. It is a fun video. So for Red, it was interesting because she did end up releasing more than one actual video, because All Too Well happened also, right? So everyone was kind of like, wow, this album is special. And we're all like, yes, we know it's special.
Darn special.
Anyway, moving right along to the next track. The next track is Forever Winter. I actually have a big soft spot for this song, even though it's also a very sad song.
It's very sad.
Because it's about basically her anxiety over someone in her life that she loves who's suffering from mental illness. Specifically, it seems depression. And her desperation to be sort of like a summer sun in their life, which seems like forever winter. It's rumored to be about an old friend of hers named Jeff Lang, who eventually passed away from something to do with his addiction and mental health issues. I think, if I remember correctly, she attended an award show, and then she dedicated the award she won to him.
Wow.
He was one of the first people she'd play songs for.
He was only 21 when he passed away of an overdose.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for this song because, like, the way she captured it is so clear. Sorry, go ahead, Kristin.
I said too that so when she dedicated the award to him, that was after having attended his funeral only 24 hours before.
Yeah.
How is Red still killing Adam?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did it knock you over again?
I'm telling you, just the whiplash and the.
Yeah, this song is sad. I do really like it, but it does make me sad also. But I love the lyrics in it.
Yeah.
Just the way she wrote about it is so. Again, it's one of those things where, like, you can tell there's something personal about it, but there's also something universal to it. Because my favorite lyric is if I was standing there in your apartment, I'd take that bomb in your head and disarm it. I'd say I love you even at your darkest, and please don't go. And every time I hear that line, it makes me want to cry. Because I'm just like, that. And I do like the parallel between how it starts and how it ends, where there's a part where he says he doesn't believe in anything much he hears these days, and the way it ends is like, believe in one thing, I won't go away.
I have that as my favorite lyric.
I'm just like, the entire song just makes me so sad.
But that's but that's really just sort of like one of the key cornerstones to loving somebody with mental illness. It's just you have to be
constant.
Yeah,
it's a constancy thing. And I think that's like the way she's able to express it in that song is just very,
Yeah.
it's so poetic.
Yeah, especially because it's not necessarily for everyone in that sense. Like you're never, like, and again, more eloquent and more informed and educated people have said, have said these things, but not everybody has that opportunity to be like that. And so you're, at the end of the day, it's, well, what are you going to do about it if it's somebody that you really do care about? And this is one way, and it's beautiful that she captures it.
Yeah, it's so, the chorus makes me so sad though.
Me too. There's also something like, I feel like so sad about the line, I'll be summer sun for you forever, because like there's so much truth to like, despite doing that, like despite being that, it doesn't mean that things are gonna work out for that person.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
And that's exactly, I mean, it's closer to, a little bit to sort of like the zeitgeist. Will Wheaton, whom I assume we love. Well, you and me anyway, we're fans. No, but he'd been pretty open about sort of like depression and all of these things, and how there were days when he's just like, I just don't feel anything. That's just how my body chemistry. And so for him to sort of like have stable folks in his life and sort of like all that kind of thing, it's a real thing. People can be as steady and as constant and as objectively and subjectively there for you. You're just not going to feel anything. And that's part of the journey on the other side of it. And so, it's lovely that, even that, the other side of that has been captured sort of like in a song so artfully.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful in a way where you can tell she's writing about this person's struggle, but it's also about her position on it, right? Like, she's not,
it's so good.
She's going to be there. She's going to be constant. She's still going to work on try to help him unravel whatever's going on in his head, or help them with whatever's going on in their head. It's again, it's another one where it feels almost like a tribute, even though it's just, that song just makes me sad. Anyway, if nobody else has anything to say, we're about to talk about my other favorite vault track.
Again, gigantic.
I'm not surprised.
The next vault track is Run, which is another song featuring Ed Sheeran. Are we shocked that it is one of my favorites? No, of course not. So it's, interestingly enough, this is actually the first song they wrote together.
Right, yes.
That's the first one.
And I get it.
I'd like it more than Everything Has Changed, I think. He asked Taylor, he really wanted this one to be the one on the album instead, but and he got it in the re-recording.
I get though why they had to release Everything Has Changed.
I also understand
because that's
why they
the more accessible one.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because this one, like, I feel like it's such an acquired, so you would have to have been a fan of Taylor already to sort of immediately grab hold of this. Otherwise, it would have been the sleeper hit the way sort of like Cruel Summer had been.
Yeah.
So and people would have been talking about it. Oh my God! But now it's done exactly what it would have done had it been released then, which is quietly be loved by people who already love Taylor Swift, and then sort of like have its own little place in the sky,
and it's
in the background.
And what's interesting to me is that this one references both Ed songs and Taylor songs.
Let's get into that, because
first of all, I jokingly, well, I half jokingly tell Macky this, but like, this is like the nice version of Getaway Car, where it's like, if forget everyone else, we're gonna leave and run away together.
This is Getaway Car, the middle school edition.
It's like, you're like,
because it feels like I'm 13 and we're running away together.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's like, it's the wholesome version of it, right?
Right.
And you're just like, okay, yeah, it's like high school. You're right. It's like, because they can
Younger.
drive. Because they can drive, though.
I mean,
yeah.
I was like, they can't be any younger than that because they're driving a car.
I wish they can, but that's just.
And it's cute. It's just cute for me because I'm just like, oh, I like the concept of that, where it's like, we'll run away together. However, the reason I say it references an Ed Sheeran song is because of the Locket part. And I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, why are we referencing Photograph?
And wasn't he writing Photograph?
I believe so,
around that time?
Yeah, it would have been.
So,
that's fun.
What a year that
I don't know anything about Ed Sheeran.
He has a song called Photograph, and he also references something, a locket, like a necklace.
A necklace.
In his, it's like a necklace with a photograph.
Yeah.
In hers, I know it's like a locket with a note. But I'm like, same concept. I'm like, it's like, wait for me.
Yeah.
Wait for me, and we'll go to like. And I'm like, when I first heard Run, I'm like, excuse me, I can see it. Hello. Why are we talking about this right now?
Just illusions galore, and I love that.
It's so, I'm just like, I love it so much, just because they're just like referencing. And the other thing about this too is like, Everything Has Changed does have like Ed Sheeran syllabication and lyrics in it, but this one I think is even more
Oh no, agreed.
leaning towards Ed,
it leaned
which
more-
is also why I don't think it would have been on the original album.
yeah,
as
because
much.
Taylor would have wanted
Yeah.
something that they equally did.
Mm.
Because this is 100% like it's got a lot of Sheeranisms.
It does actually,
It's-
which is not a
it's-
bad thing per se.
It's
It's just,
Sheeran-esque in that sense. But yeah, I feel like
It's just-
she-
so it's just so interesting to me. And the thing with the other thing too that is a parallel between the Ed Sheeran song and this one is it's the same thing where they keep it close.
Yeah.
Put it in your pocket. Put it in because I think he also says keep it in the pocket
there's a line that says
in his song.
you can keep me inside the
Oh.
pocket of your ripped jeans.
And I was
holding me
like,
closer till the
hello?
edge. And so photograph. But so if you were gonna start with any Ed
That's
Sheeran
actually
song
one
at
of my
all,
all-time favorite Ed Sheeran
just
songs.
start with Photograph.
Okay, noted.
It'll be a good parallel to
Because that was the
Yeah.
I believe that was like roughly the space that Ed was in terms of songs like this.
Mhm.
That he brought to the table writing with Taylor, and they've fictionalized each other as these friends/lovers that have eventually
very
become,
well
I think,
actually.
the everything has changed kids.
Mhm.
It's basically like they grew up and went to high school.
And Ed does that. I mean, Ed did that recently with so he did that with Yeba recently.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a-
yeah.
Sort of like she went viral, and now she's awesome. She's such an awesome singer. Where he'll take me as me, you as you, and we'll make that fictional. We'll make them a thing.
He's always done that kind of.
Yeah, and
The
this
only
is
time he ever writes non-fictional things is about himself, less about relationships, more about just like
Yeah.
what he's been going.
so you laugh like a child. Obviously, that's Taylor because we've heard Taylor laugh,
Yeah.
No
and
one
I sing
cares.
like no one like no one cares because
They're so cute.
that's just sort of like Ed does it. So
I love
that's
them.
one of my favorite lines.
I just love them so much because
Yeah.
this feels like it's funny because it's obviously a love song, but it also feels like a friendship song.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, you go run away together. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, you do that. I support this. Obviously, unsurprisingly, this was produced by Aaron Dessner.
Yeah.
Mr. Des.
I'm like, that does not surprise me because a lot of the songs that he produces for Taylor end up being favorites for me.
Yep.
So, not surprising. Yeah, but I really love Run. It is a good like sequel to Everything Has Changed. It's
Yeah.
also a good cousin to Getaway Car, cousin to Photograph. It's like a lot. It's connected to a lot of things, really.
Mhm.
But I love it. And obviously, we still owe Kristin like the Ed Sheeran list of
Oh,
songs
that's right. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we need to do her. Because you do realize he's going to come up in conversation again soon.
Yeah.
He's going to keep showing up.
We'll give you Macky and Alexa's infinite playlist.
Perfect.
Okay. Again, another change in like tone and mood.
Kristen, you have anything else there?
Unless you have anything else to say about Run.
Nope.
Okay. Well, obviously, I already said all of my favorite lyrics, but one of my particular favorites is "There's a heart on your sleeve. I'll take it when I leave, and I'll hold it for you." And I'm like, okay.
Ed Sheeran, 100%.
That's 100% Ed
Yeah,
Sheeran.
because the thing of, so Taylor is on record for talking about how Ed just writes the most amazing love songs
So
Mhm.
cute.
that are so pure that she just can't do.
Mhm.
In by implication, she didn't say I can't do them. It's just there's a style with which Ed writes the purest kind of love songs that Taylor sort of like is aspirational about.
Mhm.
And that line of, the heart on your sleeve, I'll take it when I leave and I'll hold it for you. It's so sentimental
It's so
and
cute.
so not Taylor. Taylor doesn't love like that.
Mhm.
It's very wholesome.
There's a
And at
wholesomeness.
this point, she's been through too much
Yeah.
for it to stay
Yeah,
that wholesome.
Taylor's
Mhm.
innocence doesn't look like that, is what we're trying to say.
No.
She has her own. It's message in a bottle. There's that hopeful sort of like ingenue thing. Whilst Ed is just like, this is an eternal love, but is wholesome.
Yeah,
So,
I know. A lot of his music is like that, actually, if you think about it. Anyway, we're going to change the tone of this conversation because the next song completely changes the tone again.
Yeah.
It's the song The Very First Night, which is also very pop. I would say it leans towards pop again,
Mhm.
which is surprising. This one is interesting just because you could take it either way, that it could be about Jake Gyllenhaal or it could be about Harry Styles. I personally am on the Harry Styles train for it.
Really? Yeah, this is Jake Gyllenhaal.
let's do
And
this.
I'm like, and I only want it to be Harry Styles because I like the song so much. And,
Fair.
and it fits into my like timeline of Harry when I
Okay.
put songs together. So
Okay. So you
I actually
can-
also have evidence for Jake. So
I was gonna say I have Jake evidence. I want to hear
Maybe
your Harry
Franken
evidence.
song.
well, I
So
do
let's
have
just-
evidence for Jake too. So you can go first, Kristin.
So what I have for Jake, like specifically, is there's Dance in the Kitchen and in All Too Well where
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
that is also my evidence for Jake.
And then also I drive down different roads, but they all lead back to you is like the last time, all the roads they lead me here, which was a Jake song. So that's why I thought this one was Jake. Those are my two strong, like.
Well,
stronger.
mine were so for Harry, the line "We were built to fall apart" because that's in
Out of the
in Out of the Woods.
Yeah.
That and then the Polaroid picture because that's also a 1989 reference. The thing is, the reason why it's kind of like it could be either though, because this whole scenario in a hotel could have meant either one of them, right? Like, there was always a point in both relationships where they probably were at the same hotel or could have met at the same hotel. Yeah, I actually am. I want it to be Harry, but I'm also not gonna be surprised if it was a Jake song. You know what I mean? Like it could be both.
We'll never know, but
Right. And for all we know, it could have been sort of like a stub somewhere where either she took that idea and it carried over to Harry, or it was just sort of like unfinished. And by the time she picked the song back up again, she'd already gone through whatever she did with Harry, and now was just time.
Because you also can't tell because like the car is also not a good tell because she was in the car with both of them at some point, and there are pictures of that too.
And I feel like as a creator,
like,
there's some ideas you sort of like fall in love with and understand that there's something here that I want to dig deeper into. So, but by the time you come back around to it, you're a completely different person from when you first sort of like mined it out of wherever you grab your stuff.
Yeah.
So you infuse that weight of what's changed into the finishing of it. So it might have been my theory based on your theories is that it could have been that too. That's a third option. Where,
at the end of the day, it would be the same sentiment, right? The whole sentiment is, I wish I could go back in time to that very first night. So it couldn't be either one of them because that was probably the best part.
Yeah,
the relationship, like the first night.
It could have been her just like burying these two hatchets, and then this is the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, just here. I'll be extra confusing and give you both.
I want Reputation so bad already.
I know, me too.
I know, me too.
Other than, I actually already said my favorite lyric in that song. It's the "Back then we didn't know we were built to fall apart," because I like that it's a circular reference.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
The only other things that I have to say about it are that again, there's more of the like transportation imagery with driving and flying. My favorite lyric is, I wish I could fly, I'd pick you up and we'd go back in time, I'd write this in the sky, I miss you like it was the very first night. I think that's so sweet.
Again, it's part of my Harry Styles Taylor Swift timeline, so this is the first, or like, no, it's not the first, it's the second song in my timeline.
Fair.
But yeah, I like it. I don't love it as much as Message in a Bottle, but I do like it because it's very boppy.
I like it a lot too.
It's so boppy. Like the mood went back up like this.
Yeah.
But
and
other than
that, come back down again.
I know. I was about to be like, I don't actually have that much to say about it, so we can actually roll right into the next thing, which
the
is
only
probably
reason
going
we
to take
did
us
this in
a
2
long
parts.
time.
True. Honestly, this is probably the reason we did 2 parts.
One thing I feel like, just like about Red in general, like we talked about it in the first show, but I think that she continued like in this half of it, in the exact same way how this album should like kind of give you whiplash because it does capture the highs and lows of being 22 and all the different emotions that you feel and breaking up, starting relationships, everything. And like it does the exact same thing where she doesn't really put like 2 happy songs together or 2 sad songs together. It's very much like we are constantly changing between things.
And that, she does it even in the vault.
Yeah.
And whose early 20s weren't exactly this jarring?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Too much.
Sorry, which Taylor Swift fans' 20s weren't exactly?
But isn't it interesting that unlike Original Red, which ends on Begin Again, which is a little more optimistic, the vault, she's like, no, we're gonna end it with All Too Well 10-minute version. I'm sure it's partly because it was 10 minutes, right? But
because y'all asked for it.
At the same time. we did talk already about like the background of the actual All Too Well song, and like we already knew that like it had been cut down from what it originally was, and this is basically the version where it wasn't cut down.
Yeah.
And this is the one that people have been hounding her for at every
Yeah.
interview, every Q&A.
Yeah.
When are you going to give us a 10? She's like, all right.
Yeah, and then this version of it obviously gives us more details. I mean, we all already knew who it was about, but now it actually gives you even more detail to work with.
Yeah.
Especially the age difference part. I feel like that one's a little clearer in this version of it.
Definitely.
Before we talk about the video, which I think, or not the video, the short film, which is I think will comprise bulk of what we're going to discuss. Is there any new lyric that was added that you liked the best of this version?
All of them.
I mean, I like the whole piece. I think as a whole piece, it works the best. I was telling Macky, my favorite line is still and there you are again when nobody had to know. You kept me like a secret, but I kept you like an oath.
So good.
He's already dead. I didn't think the song could be any more abusive emotionally until
I know.
the thing. It's like
Is there any lyric for you, Kristin, that you liked better? Like, not better, but like any lyric in this version that stands out to you?
I also really like it's so heartbreaking, but from when your Brooklyn broke my skin and bones, I'm the soldier who's returning half her weight, and did the twin flame bruise paint you blue? Between us, the love affair made you too. So good.
Oh my god!
And like that is further like so Jake.
Yeah,
Also,
it just makes it even more Jake.
100%. I was watching like interview things, and he said that this is not about him, which I thought was really funny.
I would assume like the specifics are about him, but I'm sure there are some things in there that are like.
Here's the deal. I feel like, and this is why this actually segues into one lyric that I feel is one of the most painful, if not the most painful lyric.
Yeah.
You know that lyric where she goes, "Did the love affair maim you too?"
Yeah, exactly.
Honey, the answer is no.
I know.
Because for him, I'll be honest, I think it's because he doesn't remember the details.
Of course he doesn't. It's 3 months. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I bet you think about me. No. When the media brings you up, he thinks about it, but not in the way that you're twirling around in this wedding thing. That's why I said I'm always the friend that's like, honey, he doesn't. You're nothing to him, like nothing.
And the thing
it hurts because he was something to her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think like the thing about this one, which like I don't want to like speculate about because it's not really like our business, but she mentions even like innocence in the beginning of the song, and it feels like this is the relationship where she lost her innocence, if you know what I'm saying without saying.
It's also what I think,
It's full thematic.
Yeah. So like this was a really pivotal, really like defining relationship for her, despite it only being 3 months. Like you never forget that first.
Agreed.
Which oddly enough was sort of like the ethos sort of like behind Buffy and Angel.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us for the older millennials who grew up like who are like wish like Taylor. There's an overlap between people who loved like Buffy and like Taylor. Like there's this weird time skipped but it was parallel. That was technically Buffy and Angel. That was the allusion to it, where it was the most pivotal sort of thing. And then afterwards, he's like, I don't know, you're gonna kill all your friends. Like that's this whole, you know what I mean? And so to have Jake years later go, it's not about me. Like I feel like that was her image of him.
Yeah.
And what it was. So of course, like no, like that guy doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like, actually, in a way, if you read it in a different context, it really isn't about him in the sense that it's about her feelings about the situation.
Right.
So you could also read it obviously as him denying, which I don't know. It depends on your tone and delivery and what the context was. But if you actually think about it, it isn't really about him, and he knows that because he said it before. It's just like he understood that that's her line of work, right? And that's how she expresses her feelings.
And art, and again, there's a point in time when sort of like the inspiration sort of like completely disconnects from the piece itself, even if they will be forever intrinsically tied together. It stops being about the inspiration and it becomes its own thing, which is what I feel the 10-minute version is the final evolution of All Too Well.
And I also think that's why it kind of like it's still a big deal in Swiftie lore, obviously, but it's also not the same kind of like, you know how like people are rabid when it's John Mayer? Like when we all mention John, we're all instantly like, no. But like when it's Jake Gyllenhaal, we're mad, but it's not like it's no one stoking the flames, him included. He's like, it's not.
In which case, I retract my statement about it being the final evolution, because no, it is all too well 10-minute version, all too well short film.
Yeah.
That's like the Charizard, the Charmander,
It's a part-
that's the scale. It becomes shinier maybe if something else happens to it,
Maybe there's going to be a mega version.
or
You never know.
I don't know, but I feel like that's the evolution of like the all too well mythos.
Yeah.
There probably would have been more animosity toward Jake had he reacted in the way that John Mayer did.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
His reaction is like, it's better because it's like it's not acknowledging it, but it's also not fanning the flames to make it worse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because there's so much detail. So because of the reason why I'm partial to the all too well like 3-4 minute version
The original
is because
version, you
it
mean?
was something that you could insert yourself into. There were very specific things,
Yeah.
sure, but they were general enough, like
That
that you could sort of like,
Yeah,
what a whimsical thing, rather than dropping the key. That's a little specific. You tossing the keys at me,
Yeah.
like in the thing, and then what the film does is it sort of like cements a real functioning story of two very real people, and we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it stopped becoming about like Jake and Taylor, and it became about Sadie and
We're about to get to that. Okay.
But anyway,
So since we're already starting to touch on it, let me just run through like the facts about the All Too Well short film. It is written and directed by Taylor. That was her filmmaking debut. And it stars, like Macky said, Sadie Sink as the her character and Dylan O'Brien as the him character. They're not really named in it, though we kind of all have assigned them names.
Yeah.
And obviously it chronicles a romantic relationship with all its ups and downs until it falls apart, compounded very clearly by the age gap, as we all know. Before we talk about the, actual film itself, this one premiered in the AMC theaters in Lincoln Square in New York City, and fans were handpicked and chosen to attend this theatrical release.
Yeah.
It also had screenings at the 2022 Tribeca and Toronto Film Festivals. And it did actually win a few awards, including 3 from the 2022 MTV Video Music Awards. It was Video of the Year, Best Long Form Video, and Best Direction. So good for Taylor.
It also broke the record, like when she won for Best Video for that. That was the most times that anyone's ever won for Best Video. Yeah.
She also won Favorite Music Video at the 2022 American Music Awards, Best Music Video at the Grammys in 2023, and Best Short Film at the 2023 Hollywood Critics Association Awards, which good for you, Taylor.
Yeah.
Is what I have to say about that. Okay. So like you mentioned earlier, Kristin, the video does start with a quote from Pablo Neruda.
Yes.
Love is so short, forgetting is so long, which is very telling because that's pretty much the entire sentiment, not just behind All Too Well, but Red, I would say. Because like that's it. We've been reminded multiple times that is the case. The film is nearly 15 minutes long. It has 7 chapters, and we can actually talk about it in terms of the 7 chapters, but just so that we're running through it real quick at the beginning, it's an upstate escape, the first crack in the glass, are you real, the breaking point, the reeling, the remembering, and the epilogue, which is 13 years gone. Okay, I feel like I'm going to leave you two to do the primary bulk of the discussion. It's like, I was telling Macky, I'm like, it's actually funny because I actually haven't watched this short film that many times.
Oh, really?
I was like, what?
No.
I must
And
have watched
then
it like
I
6
reminded
times the
Macky
day
that
it came out.
it's because I'm actually not an All Too Well girl.
I'm an All Too Well.
Oh,
girl.
I know.
But we
Me
I
too.
know. So is Mel.
Right?
Literally, Mel cannot decide which version of All Too Well is her number one. Like, she hasn't even got. But like, I'm actually not an All Too Well girl. Like, I can appreciate it for what it is, and I do think her casting was spot on for using Dylan and Sadie.
My God.
It's
I
the
can-
way it's shot, the cinematography of it, the font she chose to use for it, the coloring of everything about that I can objectively appreciate.
I can talk about it 8.5
But I feel
hours
like you
just
and
on
Macky
Twitter,
both have a
but-
lot more to say than I do.
So
So
we're
I'll
not-
just
so
leave
we're
it
not
as
gonna
like
do that.
I objectively like it for what it is. I appreciate the way it tells the story and gives more color to it. But other than that, I actually have nothing much to say.
I feel like you're the friend that I took to Coachella and said it was nice.
Yeah.
And there I am just wasted in the desert, and you're just like,
I mean, you guys have heard me talk about other videos where I had way more opinions.
oh
This
no,
is
yeah,
one where
no,
I'm
no,
just like,
exactly. That's what I feel like. This is the energy where I'm just like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing in the world.
yeah,
you're like,
which
it
is
was a
why I'm
nice
gonna
thing.
let you
Yeah.
talk
Right,
about
but-
it because I know you have lots of notes. I'm sure Kristin does too.
We were hydrated.
I feel like Macky should start because I literally have 3 pages.
Okay, so let's break this
Well, what
down,
about
right?
you start, and then if
No, no, no,
Kristen
no.
has something similar, she can jump.
I'll interject.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
that
no.
works.
No, but this is how we're gonna do this because again, for those of you
Right.
watching, we never talk about these things, so it's 100% cathartic and therapeutic for all of us here who have been
Yeah.
picked up with Taylor Swift.
Oh God.
Do any of your 3-page notes have anything to do with the sort of like Q&A panel that happened at Tribeca
No.
with Mike Miller? Or
No.
is it- Okay,
Okay, Macky's got
because
more.
I need to watch that.
because I figured that you would 100% just like really like pick this thing apart. As opposed to not Mike Miller, Mike Mills. Sorry, Mike Mills is an amazing award-winning filmmaker. I apologize for using the wrong last name, but yeah, I sort of focus on that because I wanted to approach this from sort of like the meta,
Mhm.
sort of like what
Okay.
was the process behind it, because that's always been sort of like my contribution to this
Sure.
thing is what is the art process behind
Go
like
for
just
it.
all of the esoteric. So let's do that. Let's have you sort of like come in with like the film,
Okay.
and then whatever we have it, whatever Taylor's Q&A with Dylan and Sadie and Mike Mills didn't cover, we can do a sort of like a wrap up or sort of like a post Game of Thrones conversation when we talk
Sounds
about
great.
Okay, please take us away, Kristin.
Okay, so as Alexa mentioned, we have Sadie Sink and Dylan O'Brien starring. Sadie is 19, Dylan's 30, which is bigger but close to the age gap between Taylor and Jake.
Mhm.
I think, first of all, like the acting in this is just incredible. Like both of them just do such an amazing, amazing job, and they have so much chemistry. Like,
Oh my god.
there's like, it's insane, like the pull between them. I love so I did watch the behind the scenes with Taylor directing, and something that I noticed in the video that then she did, like she talked about in that video, was that like I love how they walk through the door together, and that matches up with the lyrics.
Mhm.
When that happened, literally everyone who watched it died. I'm sorry, the death count, like just Starship Troopers, just Doctor Who levels of just murder.
And then my mind just went like, so watching the behind the scenes, she's telling them like what to do, and she's like, we don't want to see her walking through the door, she's already in the door. And it's like me thinking like he's opening his door to her world, but she's already there, like she's already all in this, and he's just like allowing her in.
That visual.
Sadie leaves her scarf on the stair banister. It's the red scarf that you can buy from Taylor's
Second death.
shop.
I know. I was like, this is exactly the scarf. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Swifties all over the world who have vibed and died to this song?
Yeah.
When she brings the scarf out, literally everyone was like, just murder,
Screams.
Yeah, just screaming, just abject screaming.
And she obviously, like in All Too Well, we know that she leaves the scarf at his sister's house, but in one of the journals that was released with Lover, there's actually like a note of her saying that she left her scarf on the banister. So we actually like see that come to life. Also in that same shot, there is a stained glass window, and it's out of focus, but it does look like there is a crest on it, and it's kind of similar to the crest that Taylor's been using since I think it's like the Lover era, but it looks more simplified. Like it looks like there's maybe only one cat on it instead of 3. And at the time of All Too Well, Taylor only had Meredith at that point. So that seems...
You're going to build a set, right? Do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
She loves doing that.
Let's see. I also just have noted, like, I just love that one shot when it's, the upstate chapter, just the fall foliage is just
perfect. That's one of my favorite shots.
Like, I just look at that and I'm like, I want to be there. That is New York fall.
I believe the lyric is autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place.
Yes, exactly. I also love like the hand holding in the car. I think that's super sweet and super innocent. It captures like that beginning. And then there's also a shot where it's like a close up of Sadie's eyes in the rear view mirror, but her eyes are averted, like almost like she can't, like doesn't want to look back or can't look back because she's like here. She's also wearing a sweater that is another one that was similar to the sweater sold in Taylor's shop when Red Taylor's version was released, the Argyle one.
Let's, that's a good product placement
Like,
right there.
There's actually like a bunch of stuff like that in here. The kissing scene in the woods with the spinning camera shot, like,
Oh God.
makes it look like the world revolves around the two of them. So cute. And also in that same scene, like Sadie hanging on Dylan's back looks like the paparazzi photos of Taylor and Jake and Brooklyn. Taylor's kind of on Jake's back. Yeah.
Like if you could die in negative, like just how dead are you? It's just increasing at this point in time.
I know. And this is like just the beginning.
I know. It's like, how can you stop it? They're already dead. She's like, we got 8 minutes more. Hang on.
Then I really love in the next scene, like the dinner scene, we see.
Oh my God,
Sadie
that scene stresses me out.
That was on purpose.
Oh my gosh, the black turtleneck and the red lipstick, like that is Taylor's look during that era. And it also is obviously like Sadie, and she has her straightened hair, like she's trying to look older and more mature for Jake's friends, like putting on a show for them. And if you'll notice, like at the table, everyone's wine glasses are mostly drained, but Sadie's is full, and it's probably because she wasn't 21 yet at that point. We have him throwing the keys on the ground instead of to her. And
wait, before we get to that, there's a scene at literally the tail end of that dinner scene after everyone's laughing at his amazing jokes.
Yeah.
Where Dylan sort of like uncouples his hand, and just sets it down and sort of like pats it, like understandingly, where she's like, that's where you should be right now. Just give me a minute to work the room.
And
the amount of rage that
God, I know.
I'm talking. I never wanted to stab anybody so hard. Like just our principle. Like just what are you doing? Anyway, so.
And in the behind the scenes of Taylor directing that scene, when they first did it, like it was kind of like under the table, and she was like, "No, you have to not hold her hand in front of everyone. It has to be on the table so everyone can see that you're kind of like brushing her away." Which,
Anyway,
then moving on. So he throws the keys on the ground instead of to her, and she's watching him yell on the phone, like at the window of the car. And that is also like the LA paparazzi photos where you see Jake yelling out the window, and has like his hand in a phone signal. And also hanging from the like the mirror part is this like little locket that is actually seen throughout the video, and is another thing that you could have bought in Taylor's merch shop. And then also during the scene, so Dylan is yelling on the phone, and he's using the same kind of iPhone that was around during the time that Taylor and Jake were dating.
These attention to detail moments that are just.
I mean, she's gonna tell
things, like, who would even think of these things? So then we have the scene where the music stops and we have like the kitchen fight, and that's like insane. And from what I understand, like a lot of the dialogue in that scene was actually improvised. That was like all Sadie and Dylan just like acting off of one another, but it was such a real fight. And it was so like, it was like the perfect example of somebody just completely like gaslighting someone else, and him like not even saying he doesn't remember when he like pushed her hand away, but that's like the thing that she obviously remembers most. That was like hard to watch, honestly.
So fun fact about that particular one, which Sadie and Dylan did talk about in Tribeca, was how Taylor managed to say that Dylan was actually pivotal in beating that scene out emotionally, because there was no script to follow. And there was a really great discussion about how it's so hard to capture a miscommunication in script form, because unless everybody is 100% keyed into the very core of what they can't seem to get on the same page as, then it's going to become clunky. And you're like, even Dylan had complained about how sometimes he would read scripts and go, why am I repeating this line 6 times? It doesn't make sense. but that's because you don't understand sort of like what
Who
the
the
real
char-
essence
yeah.
is. So Taylor and Dylan and Sadie got to create sort of like the scene from the vibe without the clunk and
Probably why
clutter
it feels so.
of an actual sort of like somebody else putting words in somebody else. So you were able to draw from both actors' sort of like experiences while being 100% keyed to the creative direction, which
It
is,
really is
I
sad,
think,
though.
what an amazing
Brilliant.
movie.
Yeah, it's
So-
just so collaborative.
Right?
Really.
It's 100% collaborative. And for Taylor to sort of like entrust the expertise of bringing about a visual sonic medium
Mhm.
to people who do this for a living and are
and just
so
trusting
sorry
they can do it.
and trusting they can do it and trusting them just like, this is where we want to go, let's go. And they're like, all right, I think this is the way to have that thing happen.
Yeah.
That's why it was so painful.
Yeah.
It was the realest, most unencumbered. There's no script to fit yourself into. There's just creative direction.
Like, she is who she is then, he's who he is then, and it just so happens that their way of communicating is clearly not working.
Yeah.
They're not on the same page
And-
at all.
Right?
No.
And the heartbreaking part of that is, I don't know if Kristin, if you have it in your notes, when he's just like, come here, just come here. Like he takes advantage of just her need to be loved in that moment
Yes.
versus her need to be understood so that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound.
And
Yeah.
just
You didn't take out the
sweeping
bullet,
the rest
you
of the
didn't do
entrails
stitches.
under the rug.
Yeah.
Right. And he like sounds serious when he starts saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And then the last I'm sorry is him like laughing and just like brushing.
Yeah,
like,
you're just
under
being,
the rug.
you're just being dramatic.
Because in his head, he's like, you're just being young.
Yeah.
Which is a good time to sort of mention that from day one, when Taylor took Dylan in, her first directorial note to Dylan was, he needs to be likable. He 100%
And the
needs
sad
to be
thing
likable.
is, like, when he is likable in the
But
film,
that's
it's
what
like
makes
he is
it
likable. in the
perfect,
film.
because that is exactly the kind of flawed characters that Taylor's world.
Yeah, because she doesn't like
Yeah.
black and white.
Yeah, like just
Well,
I'm
not
just
anymore.
I mean, the last time she did that was "You Belong with
With
Me,"
Me,
and that
and
was
she
the
was
brunette.
young, and
Like,
she
and
was
that
young.
was it.
She
It was in your
young.
teens.
Yeah.
But since she sort of kind of grew up, there's no real villains anymore. Well,
Yeah.
John Mayer, but there's no.
But that was still that era. Like, it was still close to that
Right?
era.
It's-
Like,
but-
now it's more like,
and I feel like
I don't know if you've seen this interview quote or if either of you have seen it, where she kind of says or alludes to the fact that, like, she knows, like, there was definitely a lot that was not to blame, but like a lot of responsibility on his part. But then again, she also recognizes a lot of her own
Yeah.
things that were going on at the time in her head that maybe were contributing to it,
Sure.
which I found interesting. And I was like, those are the things you only think of in hindsight, though, because at the time when you were there, you probably didn't.
Yeah.
None of that was in your mind because you were just in pain.
Mhm.
There-
You
so
know?
beautiful, painful, horrible.
But like, yeah, that scene makes that entire film. To be honest with you, I'm just like,
Because it doesn't make the love and the bond and connection that they have any less real.
Mhm.
It doesn't make it counterfeit. That's why it's so painful.
because there is something
because
there.
there is something there.
Yeah.
But anyway, please continue.
Anyway,
Okay, back to it.
I was like, keep going.
I also love the dancing around the kitchen and the refrigerator light scene. I think it's like exactly like I always imagined it. And if you look at like their placement, Sadie is on the right and there's like a golden glow like coming from the kitchen window, and Dylan's on the left and there's like a blue light coming from the refrigerator, and we know a blue feeling from red.
Never known.
Exactly. Then we see like a really intimate scene between them where everything seems good again, and then it kind of seems like he breaks up with her out of nowhere.
Yep.
So it's really jarring. And then it's so sad when she's just like curled up in bed, hysterical, crying, and he's calling her up again just to break her like a promise.
Which
So
could also be a reference to "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together."
Yeah, definitely.
and Taylor at Tribeca had mentioned specifically to Sadie that while she loved Sadie's performances, majority of the time she was literally just clutching her chest.
Yeah.
Just at how painful it was to watch Sadie sort of just sink deep. And at this point in time, I'm 100% sure that Sadie has listened to All Too Well as many times as the rest of us, right? So for her to be like, I got you, fam. Like, this is This is this is that Game of Thrones meme where they're like, how do we like cut down on casting next season? And there's like this meme of like Lena Headey just sort of like with her wine glass, sort of like going, I got you, fam.
Sadie has always been a Taylor Swift fan, and I think she's said like in interviews in the past that her favorite song was All Too Well. So
Girl.
Can you imagine?
it's no wonder that she gets it.
If I, with my level of fandom, which I'm 100% sure is at least as much, if not more than Sadie Sink's All Too Well fandom, had her acting skills and had that opportunity, I would just go as hard.
Yeah.
I can almost see Sadie telling Taylor, it's like, I totally get what you want for this. Just like devastated every day.
Yeah.
Taylor's like, cut, you know what I mean? It's so funny. It's that good, and she's like, I can't. So it's beautiful.
Then my next note is, and guess what? Young Taylor uses typewriters anyway.
Typewriter. I love. I also, so
Yeah.
when Macky was watching it, I was peripherally watching like it with him, and I was like, "Huh." I was like, "Is this a tortured poet's typewriter?" Because I was like, "Whose
Yeah.
typewriter is it?" Turns out the typewriter.
Okay, so I will
like,
try to
I'll
make
let
this
back
rant very short because this is bordering TTPD territory.
Okay.
We went
And-
into Sweet Valley territory. I'm
and-
pretty sure we.
And Taylor's exception, because Taylor does mention a Tribeca, because we know the typewriter. I'm like, all right, it's a typewriter, it's a red typewriter. This thing, there's ornaments that was the typewriter, and so I just
I
ignored
have
that.
it.
There you go. But Taylor mentions at the Tribeca thing where she's like, yeah, and and there's the typewriter where, and you don't see it, but the camera introduces, Dylan for the first time, and then it pans, and then you see the typewriter. So he gives it to her, and I'm like, he gives
Oh,
it.
I didn't notice that.
It's in the beginning.
You want to know why? So you have to. Okay, I'm incensed because of the connection
He's
to
so
TTPD.
mad.
I'm so angry because this is Taylorception at its finest. It's like, did she dream everything up, including Travis? Check this out. At the 49-second mark, your YouTube video has to be at like 0.25,
So you
like
can
the
see it.
slowest setting.
Really?
Like just before the camera pans to Sadie, that happens in less than a split second. If you pause at the sister's house at the 49-second mark, somewhere in those microseconds, you will see that exact same
The
red
typewriter is there.
right there, implying, and Taylor has confirmed, that he gave her that typewriter somewhere along the lines of the thing. So, and literally the first line of TTPD is, you left your typewriter at my apartment. I can't. with this
Wow.
shooting. I cannot. Like, I am dead.
I just
He's already dead.
when you
Stop
watch it again after this, because like Macky really slowed it down, and then I was like, huh,
It's actually
Wow.
probably still paused on one of my tabs right now.
because he was watching it. Just,
I'm like speechless.
Isn't it just there? It's right
not-
there. 49-second. It's right there.
you can see it.
It's on a
super
table right in
clearly.
front of the fireplace. It is blurred. There is no clear photo of it because the camera is panning
just going like
directly to
this.
Sadie.
to Sadie.
Wow.
Right?
It's
So and Taylor at the interview, dead ass, looked Mike Mills in the face and said he gave her that typewriter.
and we're all just, and I was just like, what?
Who's gonna hold you? Try not to.
Wow.
I can't. I bloody.
I love Taylor Swift
Can't.
so much. Her
Wow.
brain is just like must be a crazy place to be in.
At
I
this
can't
point,
even
she's
imagine.
manifesting reality right now, and that is her real mutant power.
Wow.
Her secondary evolution, if you
Yeah.
will. But
No.
please, now that we know that, carry on with that typewriter thought in your head. Let's see how you get through the rest of the song.
Seriously.
The way like the entire time, like typewriter.
That scene is so like. The other thought I had actually with the typewriter part is the manuscript.
Yeah, same.
So again, TTPD reference, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, huh. I was like, she's typing up the, and now that the manuscript is, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
And about those
And-
manuscripts, please continue.
Yeah,
if you
keep
She
can.
going.
she obviously has a crumpled up piece of paper by it at one point.
Mhm.
Good. I think, okay, so then next we have poor Sadie left all alone at a party where she
Oh my
clearly
God.
does not know anyone.
I was telling Macky, like, that is literally my worst nightmare, but also
Yeah.
it happened to me where I'm like at a place where I don't know anyone and I'm just like,
That's
know what I-
literally why I talked to you the first time. Everybody forgot your birthday,
oh yeah.
and you were sad during rehearsals.
It was
And I
also my
thought, I
birthday.
must check in on my castmates, and that's what.
Oh,
That's when you told me you managed conflict in your family, and I'm like, do say it. Please continue. What is that? What is? So you sort everybody's problems out? Hello. I believe we've met, but I would like to reintroduce
Introduce myself.
How about this time I buy you food? Anyway,
Yeah, I
so
know,
it's a
right?
whole.
Anyway, continue, Kristen. It was very sad. That scene actually makes me really anxious because I'm like,
Same. Then we have a wholesome scene of, oh gosh, I wrote Jake in my notes, but I mean Dylan, of course. He's sipping coffee and he's charming her dad with self-effacing jokes.
with the chocolate chip cookies.
There are chocolate chip cookies on the table. Also,
Actually, Mr. Swift in that video?
No.
No, it wasn't. It was somebody
It's
else.
the guy who's the casting director for Stranger Things. I think.
yes, and he actually also worked on something that Dylan was in too.
Oh,
Yeah.
how gorgeous. There you go.
I don't remember his name, but I know he's the.
Yeah.
He's the
And if you'll notice, Sadie's mug is red. Loving him was red. Dylan's mug is gray. Missing him was dark gray all alone. And Sadie's dad's mug has a bowling ball hitting a pin as if he's being bowled over by Dylan's charm.
just so many things, really.
Mastermind is playing in my head as we're talking about this.
Oh, 100%.
She's only
And then-
Machiavellian because she can
Yeah.
be.
And then the scene shifts to the same table, but Sadie is sitting surrounded by her closest friends. Her mom's bringing her her 21st birthday cake, but she's obviously sad because Jake never showed up. So like she's smiling, but you can see like the pain in her smile, which contrasts really nicely to in the last shot when she's genuinely so happy because her dad and Dylan are getting along. Then Sadie seen wearing the locket that's also hanging from the car window in the earlier scene. And that locket is also featured in the lyric video for the song. And then we have the part which is basically just like depression, where, being in bed for days on end. Sadie's wearing the same flannel shirt that Dylan was wearing earlier in the video.
It's a good reference to Last Kiss, technically, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't she go something like, "I'll sit on the floor wearing your clothes"?
Yep.
And also plaid shirt days, and then you make your own. So Sadie sitting on the floor in the dark is giving like a White Horse vibe.
Yes.
It's like very much like the White Horse video. And then in the same vein, like then we go back to Good Memories, and you almost get like whiplash going back and forth between her being so upset and then so happy, which seems pretty like spot on for this relationship. Then we have the upside down kiss by the fireplace, which is a Spider-Man Easter egg.
I mean,
Jake was actually supposed to replace Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, which thankfully never happened.
There's pointed.
Wait, now I just went straight to the bridge joke.
There's pointed and there's pointed, and yes, there is a bridge joke because the one thing
funny.
that Taylor Swift and Tom Holland have in common is killing Jake Gyllenhaal with a brick.
I'm sorry.
I love that so much.
I love that joke so much. Whoever decided to put that on the internet is my favorite person.
But I also love that it's still like, so there was that upside down kiss Spider-Man reference, but it's still relevant because, as we know, Jake now plays the villain in Spider-Man in Far From Home.
Interesting.
So it's funny because he was supposed to play the hero back then, and now in the future he is the villain, and it's almost like the same way that Taylor has seen him. It
reminds me, when did No Way Home, Far From Home come out? Did it come out before?
Before this.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the wind in her hair is perfection. I've never seen a more perfect shot.
Oh my god.
And then we said, okay, yeah, Sadie typing her story on a red typewriter. And then when we have the title sequence scene, 13 Years Gone, the locket is also blurry, but in her ring holder.
13, as usual.
13. There's actually a lot of 13 that I'll get to in just a moment. But then we get the amazing reveal of Taylor being Sadie's older self.
Yes. I love
Redheaded Taylor makes another
Taylor.
appearance.
It's like alternate version Taylor, where she became an author instead of a songwriter.
I could
Um,
still see that happening.
I absolutely could too. And then the cover of her book, All Too Well, I really like. It's a blue cover. It has like a nice like tree, and there's a red scarf hanging on it. And there's also a similar shot to that in the lyric video, like of an actual tree with a red scarf hanging in it.
But isn't it like a love story or a love song or a love like poem to everyone who loves YA romance?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
because it could have been like a somber type, typography and design on the book cover, but it's this bright blue kind of just like with, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, is this a I love you book fans
But
kind of thing?
This is 100% another one where I'm like, oh my god, it's the manuscript again.
Yes.
Especially
also,
the last 4 lines of the manuscript. I'm literally like, it is this song.
the cover of it also looks similar to an Alice in Wonderland cover, and we know Wonderland
Yes.
was in 1989.
Agreed.
And then it also kind of looks like the Giving Tree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay.
Then we have Taylor doing a reading in a bookstore in a black suit over that black turtleneck with red lipstick. And again, said it before, but I think that she just looks so good as a redhead.
Yeah, agreed.
Once again, this is giving me modern Jean and Babs. I'm sorry, that's Oracle, right? If you put her in a wheelchair and put her in glasses, that is Oracle.
Mhm.
And then if you put her in the gray sort of like stripy thing, that is Jean Grey, headmistress Grey. To everyone who doesn't know, so that's just me being a fan. Please continue.
Then we have Dylan watching out the window and Taylor's red scarf in the snow because what follows fall but winter. But this is the fun thing. So it's actually not Dylan O'Brien that is standing there. It's a different actor, and the actor is Jake Lyon, kind of like Jake lying. And he was a crew member on the film. So it's interesting that like
So funny.
he has the credit for standing there.
Again, there's pointed and then there's pointed.
Right.
I love Taylor sometimes where she's just like,
hashtag Machiavellian.
It's like I can do it. I'm gonna do
hashtag
it.
mastermind.
Then I think the final shot of like the closed door and the snow is so beautiful. Like and it's a really nice like opposite to the beginning when we're entering the house in the fall, and now the door is closed and it's winter and it's barren and like that's it. And then a couple of fun like Easter egg things. So some 1989 Easter eggs in the video.
They're so fun.
The car they're driving is a 1989 Mercedes. There are 5 candles on Sadie's cake, and 1989 is her 5th album.
Yep.
The dialogue starts in the short film at the 13-second mark.
Sure.
During the fight scene, they say the F word 13 times.
Wonderful.
And written and directed by Taylor Swift comes on the screen at the 13-minute mark.
Of course it does.
Which is just so Taylor. And then this is a really, really interesting thing that I found online that I did not know.
Okay, do tell.
All Too Well, the short film, is very similar to a movie that Jake Gyllenhaal was in.
Oh, which one?
Nocturnal Animals, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Amy Adams, who is a redhead.
Interesting.
Amy Adams plays a gallery owner who is haunted by her ex's novel that's a revenge tale about their relationship. The suit and black turtleneck outfit is an outfit that Amy wears in that movie.
Interesting.
And they're also in a very similar Mercedes in that movie, which is the car like in the beginning of the All Too Well film. From what I understand, because I haven't seen it, Nocturnal Animals is very violent and very bloody. And it's also obviously gender swapped from All Too Well, but there are a lot of parallels between both films.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did not know that either. I swear to God, I do love though that she was like, if one of them had said no to her, specifically, I think Sadie is the one who says this or she says it in an interview about Sadie. when she asked Sadie to be in it, she's like, if Sadie had said no, she probably wouldn't have done the film.
No, agreed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was that clear to her that it had to be Sadie
Agreed.
and Dylan.
It had to be them. Yeah.
Because she's like, otherwise she wouldn't have done it. She would have taken it as a sign, like,
And,
no.
and what's super funny is that she had been, very, very clear. And so again, Taylor Swift is one of the few people that in the public eye that is so 100% aware of her insecurities.
Yeah.
But it's as though they do not daunt her. Like she'll do it anyway, regardless of how she feels. And so the irony of her sort of like forwarding her the treatment to Dylan and to Sadie, and for her going, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I can do this, because she wanted to hire a bunch of other directors, female directors, of course, because that's what she wanted to do. And then she goes, well, apparently all of my favorite female directors were working at the time, which is great, and we love that for them.
Yeah.
And then she goes, well, maybe I could do it. And so when Sadie and Dylan come up on stage, Sadie goes, look, I know you were, like, we were listening to you from backstage and you were talking about maybe you could do this. When Dylan and I got the treatments through, we were like, of course you can do it.
Yeah.
Like, there was no question. So the irony of Taylor sort of just like going, look, I really think this is going to work, putting her best foot forward. I'm a professional. It's going to be great. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Ironic to me, given like she has very specific opinion. And I think a lot of the behind the scenes of videos that she's made before, like having other people direct it, she's already very clear when it comes to like, this is how I need it to be shot. This is what I want from it. She already has a very good idea of visually picturing out what she wants. And it's funny to me that in her mind, she's like, but no, I can't do it.
Because,
Yeah.
because, and she talks about this at the, it's in a good segue to sort of like the Tribeca sort of like little Q&A about how for a while she struggled with imposter syndrome and I would feel
Imposter syndrome.
And here's the thing about Taylor, right? She'll say things, but I feel like years later when she gets more confidence, she'll elaborate. Like, you know how, like Miss Americana is literally an entire deconstruction of every single time she was like, oh, Speak Now was just like, there was nobody to write with because I was on the road. But in reality, she was like, I was struggling with the fact that everybody was discrediting my work because they thought I relied on other people's stuff, discrediting my singing, discrediting my touring. So, but she just didn't, but because good girls don't talk out loud. So that was code for this was happening underneath. I feel like her talking about All Too Well, which, and again, I'll call this from now, the way she described her journey to film directing was she said, oh, but see, it started in my earlier music videos when I meddled. That's the word she uses, is meddled. Because I think she's self-aware enough to understand that if you hire somebody to do a job and then you are encroaching on their territory, you are meddling, but at the same time, but where do you draw the line between, but that's my work. That's my original idea. I'm the creative director here. So I feel like she carried maybe some of that baggage
I could see
that created the imposter syndrome, where over time she was like, it stopped being her meddling and now, okay, let me do the treatments. And so she started doing the treatment, she started hiring people until finally she was able to direct the man.
True.
And that's when it stopped being Taylor sort of like submitting treatments and whatever to finally going, look, my vision, my creative direction, we're going to do this the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of gave her the courage to try this. There were no directors that she liked, and she's like, all right, maybe me. And it was so cool because Mike Mills, who was at this point in time an accomplished influence in Taylor's life, sort of like is riffing off of her and sort of like going, you know what, like with somebody and he keeps telling her over and over throughout the whole interview, that you have such a clear picture, a clear vision
That's actually
of what
the
you
thing
want.
I think works in her favor.
That worked in her favor. And that sort of like is almost sort of like a wake-up call to every artist out there that I feel like vision trumps your ability to execute at any point in time. It's encouraging for me as a writer.
Yeah.
How many writers who started out young can look back at their work even now and sort of like critique it with the eyes, and so maybe that wasn't the least clunkiest thing, but because the story was so raw and so real, it touched everybody and it worked. That's where I feel like creative vision and direction sort of like trumps like how well you can execute something and how seasoned you are.
Absolutely.
And so while Taylor struggled with imposter syndrome, when she says that out loud during the interview, clearly the work and her coworkers say it's like, no, you belong here. Like, like,
you can stand here. I'm sure you have more, but like two things before you
go ahead.
Do it, because this has nothing to do with the Tribeca thing. The first thing is that the crossword puzzle scene in is also a reference to a lyric in Red.
I was thinking that too.
Tim was like trying to solve a crossword and realizing there's no
right
answer.
Yep.
It's fun. And then the other one is just a fun fact about Dylan O'Brien.
Which
So-
is
that Dylan O'Brien did some of the drums on Snow on the Beach.
100%.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fun fact, he's
So
credited with doing some of the drums for that song.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
fun.
he is a drummer, and Taylor was like, "Who can we get into the studio?" It's like Dylan. Usually, he's like, "I don't want to." It's like, "Come on, let's go."
And so he is actually
He's- yeah.
credited on that
Nice.
as being one of the
Isn't that
drummers.
wild, Dylan O'Brien, Lana Del Rey. It's like again,
So
it's as
funny to me.
it's as wild as it's like fishball bingo, right? Like who shows up at a Taylor Swift concert is as wild as who ends up collaborating with Taylor.
Yeah,
anyway.
and sometimes they just don't like that. Was like a fact that came out later. Like most people didn't know it until they started
Mhm.
looking at that, and they're like, "Oh."
I think did I not say that out loud a lot? I probably.
I
Just
feel
put
like
it-
you said it out loud.
There you
That's
go.
how I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the one that was really a standout is the fact that Lana was on the track, but also because the other track, Lavender Haze, Zoe Kravitz was one of the writers.
Can I just say, as a Zoe Kravitz,
Oh.
Lavender
Yeah, we're gonna get to
Haze-
that eventually, but like
Yeah.
that was the thing that sort of, I mean, that was a bigger deal because
Yeah,
it was
that's
more
pretty good.
publicly knowledge versus like Dylan just being like, I'm gonna do drums on
Yeah.
this song.
the whole thing. But yeah, so
Anyway, go back to your Tribeca.
so yeah, just a
panel.
few salient points, right? So interestingly enough, in terms of theme, right? And Taylor sort of like wowed
Oh, I
Mike
do like
Mills.
this. Yeah.
So like wowed Mike Mills just with how clear her direction was
Mhm.
about this thing, is that she says that All Too Well was supposed to be about a young effervescent woman so who was in over her head, and how the way she was in over her head was like sort of walking into the ocean where your feet don't touch, and at any point in time you could get carried and swept away.
Mhm.
And and then she's always on the precipice of transitioning sort of like from girlhood to adulthood, because Taylor says at that time, and again, women when they hit their 20s seem to be in this precarious situation where one foot is set straight still planted firmly in girlhood,
Mm.
and yet another foot is planted in adulthood. A very precarious situation where at any point in time it could be taken away, but how it is taken away is explored specifically in this All Too Well video, because that's sort of like her thing. It's like, who takes the girlhood away? How do you lose it? And in this case, it was through this terrible relationship that Taylor says was inevitable for both of them, and was inevitable for them to fall apart.
But you see what I mean? Like she now knows.
Yeah.
She saw it now.
Like she and some people do have that phenomenon and experience that phenomenon of, there was no way that this was never going to happen, but there was also no way this was going to stay together. And I love the words that she used was just, like the collision was inevitable, and the dismantling was inevitable.
So like both things were going to happen.
And for me, the way Taylor phrased it in that interview was, she said that this was inevitable, they would collide, so it was a very active thing, but it would also be dismantled, and suddenly it's in the passive voice. And I picked that up because it feels like Taylor is so clear about, there were things out of their control that tore this thing apart.
And truly, most of it was out of their control.
Which leads me to the
Yeah.
final thing that I sort of want to say about this whole theme thing, which was Taylor from the start believed that both characters were protagonists.
Yeah.
And how do we know this? Because Taylor's belief was that when he stands outside the window and we don't see his face, that completes his journey to protagonist. Because whether he was there to understand, to sort of like mourn the loss of what they had, or to just see if she was fine or not, it doesn't matter. He completes his protagonist journey in that shot.
Smart, actually.
Which is so
and that's
like,
really gracious.
isn't it
also.
so gracious and so good? Because that's what the story of All Too Well is now. Like in the 3-minute version, it's just, we don't know if it's Jake, is it Jake, blah blah blah. In the 10-minute version, it's like, oh my god, it's totally. And then in the visual media, the final evolution, if you will, that's Taylor's vision of, this is what the story is now about. This is a story that all of the fans can. This is the universal thing that we can now all. So it sort of like loops back to universal.
I like that, actually. I really like that.
Me too.
Where there's two people that have grown and are different, whatever. And while that door is closed and winter has come, right, his arc sort of completes, because whatever compassion he didn't have then,
He must have
had some form of it to move him to where
I
he
like
was.
that.
now
I
at the
actually
end of the
really
show.
like that.
Yeah.
And Taylor had that entire thing from jump, including the fonts.
Yeah, I love the font choices.
Including the fonts,
in
which
this.
she worked with a London-based typography sort of like company, because from the start she knew that this character Sadie was going to fictionalize this man
Love it.
in her book,
And
and that's why the entire thing was chapters, because those are actually the chapters of All Too Well, the book.
I love it.
So
So in Taylor's head, the chapters and the fonts were actually chapters in the fonts in the actual book that adult Sadie was reading at her book signing, at her book event.
The font too is very similar to, I would say, the font of like the New Yorker.
Oh yes. Yeah. I can see that. It is pretty close to it. I just she put so much thought into
New
it.
Yorker then.
I was like, she put so much thought into it.
Yeah.
And she did her research. Like, it's amazing how Taylor's response to imposter syndrome is not so much to overcompensate on like posturing, which some people sort of like do, where you try to put on a front. No, she comes prepared. She researches. She's quoting throughout the story. First of all, she studies people's work.
Yeah.
She is on quote from this guy who is, where's that quote that I've written about him? Something like that. Failure, communicate, blah, blah, blah. There. She quotes John Cassavetes, who I have no idea who it was, until apparently I watched one of his movies, which was Rosemary's Baby. He died in 1989,
I did not even
by
know
the
that.
way.
Oh.
So this is well before Taylor's time, obviously. But in her research, she quotes him during the thing, and she says,
That's wild.
I've never seen an exploding helicopter. I've never seen anybody go and blow somebody's head off. So why should I make films about that? But I have seen people destroy themselves in the smallest ways. And Taylor goes,
Ooh.
that moves me.
Yeah.
Just like, so Taylor.
That sounds like such a Taylor reaction.
That
though.
is 100% a Taylor thing. So the
It's
fact
like,
that she is doing deep dives into the craft that she felt, and then she feels like her imposter syndrome comes to the fact that I feel like this is for people who do this for a living, people who study this in college. And Mike Mills was like, I never took film for
surprisingly,
college.
a lot of filmmakers.
And she's like,
never.
Yeah.
so much better, thank you. Because again, the Beatles didn't go to music school.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not to knock an education.
I mean,
in the
sometimes
craft.
it's like, there are examples of people who did that track and it worked out
And
really
it
well.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
But it's not always the track you need to take.
that's exactly it. Because art has a funny thing about, and again, it sort of goes back to sort of like the artisan versus artist sort of like sort of like discussion, where some people are great at taking something and making something out of it, versus they're just original creators, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like when you have that very clear, very visceral vision, and you have just enough skills to pull it off, you get this.
But that's the thing. I think that's actually at the end of the day, and this is like veering towards more generalizations than anything else. I think most successful creatives in whatever field it may be, they always have a clear vision.
Yeah.
Because that's what you lead with, because that's usually what ends up really connecting with people, connecting with the audience. Because like you could also be the kind of artist who like you don't really have that. Like you're just a good example, I guess. And this is not a knock on her because I also love her music and just enjoy it. Rihanna. She's like, her music is fun. It's catchy. It's got all of these things, but it's not like she planned like, oh, this is the direction you know what I mean? Like I'm
there's no level of
you know what I mean? Like that's not really.
There's no mastermind levels.
Yeah,
She's just
it's
working
not
for a good time.
this where it's like, I know what I want to put out there. It's a different kind of artistry. And there's nothing wrong with that either, because let's be real, I enjoy that too. The ones that I feel end up being or feeling very timeless are the ones who do have this sort of vision. And it's the same, whether you're a filmmaker, a writer, songwriter, it doesn't really matter. It's like, it's so clear. It's so clear, no matter who is there. Beyonce's one where I'm like, I know she has her own vision for her things. And while it's not one that works for me, I can objectively be like, I get it.
Woman knows what that's another mastermind.
I understand.
Oh my God. Just
I
to the smallest detail.
Same thing. It's like, I can see what you're doing.
There's a video of Beyonce going viral about just like, why is the piano here? And then she talks to everybody through like, this is why and it's just like, and I'm just like, I love that.
But same thing, because she's so clear on like, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in many ways, that's what leaves the biggest impression, right? We're all just like, got it. We know this is very you. Like, we get it. We know what you're after, which is so fascinating to me.
Right. So, yeah. And that's pretty much the. I mean, there were several other parts that are best reserved for maybe another discussion. But yeah, we can edit there. That woman is a mastermind.
That's for
Really
sure.
is.
And now she's manifesting things into the future. Simpsons level stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to see her feature film when it's finally.
Me too.
It's going to be so interesting.
It's gonna be
It's going to be so interesting. Anyway, we're going to end on a slightly lighter note because we're going to talk about sort of the aesthetic and the fashion of this era.
As we can see, these stripes
gonna-
are on fleek today.
I'm going to let Kristin speak it,
Nobody says
actually.
anymore, but that's
Because she's the one who so kindly gathered all of the images I'm sure she's about to share. So I feel like Kristin should take the lead on
by
the
all means,
fashion
our resident
era.
fashion person.
Thank
I
you.
know, right?
I'll preface this by saying, like, I feel like this is the first era where Taylor was really like, I am everywhere. So
There's a lot,
there's
right?
so much. Like, it took me a while to do this because there's just so much to capture. So
Classic.
The good thing we did a part 2 to this live show. So
yeah.
if you spend a lot of time talking about it, it's fine.
All right, here we go. Okay, so first up we have all of like the shots from the original CD booklet, and I think like one of the biggest things from this era, which you see on Alexa and I right now, is that the biggest colors are definitely black, white, and red. Like those are our core colors that we are seeing in every single photo shoot and all of the tour stuff, even in her street style. Like that is it, and that is super classic. Again, that's leading more toward her veering toward like being more mature.
Yeah.
It's giving good girl Faith with a tight little skirt.
I can't
Yeah.
wait. No, but I agree. I agree with Kristin's use of the word classic, actually, because that's kind of how the look comes across to me too. Because like, there's a very deliberate choice to wear like the collared silhouettes a lot in this. The stripes, the more monotone colors. There's less of her like, you know how like the last couple of albums, there's definitely been a clear like sparkles and the bohemian kind of dresses. Now it's like, I'm put together with the red lip too, which is always like a classic standout sort of look.
Exactly, it's very old Hollywood.
I mean, it never goes out of style.
Yes.
I am gonna spam that. I'm sorry. It's just we know who she was dating anyway.
I know. Anyway,
And
but I
even,
really
like,
like the looks on this.
The even her Ray-Ban sunglasses are a classic style that have been
Yes.
The Wayfarers, right?
Yep, for years and years and years. So like
So
everything that she is choosing is very intentionally, like if you saw somebody wearing some of these outfits today, like I mean, especially the one on the left,
Yep.
Yep.
that could be like someone could wear that today, someone could wear that 50 years ago.
Almost sure somebody wore that last week. On the
Even
train.
the way she does her hair now, too.
Yeah.
Because now she's gone to the point where like the curls are not as out in full force.
Yes.
She's embracing more of like it's a little longer and the curls are a little bit more subtle. And then she does a lot of updos now.
It's the bangs, though.
Absolutely.
The bangs too, actually, they kill me.
Yeah. And it also, I would say there's also a bit of like a Brooklyn hipster flair to some of
Yeah,
her outfits.
there's some of that. for
She's
sure.
starting to look a little more New York.
Definitely.
Is
Yeah,
what I think it is too.
I think so.
New York and coastal. Like
Yeah.
coastal
Yeah.
is the other thing.
Then on the next slide, we have more of the album.
See, but
interior.
even like the silhouettes of the dress now. Now she has like the cap sleeves on there or like slightly longer sleeves.
Mhm.
And then the fabrics too are a little bit more, I guess, weighty is what I would use in terms.
Yeah, the structure.
Yeah, there's a lot more structure. Even like this one, the one that's on the left where she's like standing in the water.
Yeah.
Like the what she's choosing to use is kind of like it is sort of a throwback to like old Taylor, but at the same time the silhouettes and the fabric are very like fitting for this.
Mhm.
I
I
love
would
the
say that one too. Like that particular outfit choice is also like a sign of maturity in the sense that like, you know, she's like showing a bare shoulder and that's kind of like a loss of innocence.
yeah.
I also really like the white sunglasses too.
Me
the white
too.
Those are very 60s.
I love
yeah,
that so much.
very timeless. The one color that we do see is this like yellow dress, which I also really like, and that is very reminiscent of what she was wearing during Speak Now, was all of those like vintage dresses. So she's also, that's actually like the back, I think, like right at the back of the album, and she has her hand. So it's almost like she's waving goodbye to that aesthetic.
I can see that.
Do you have anything else to say about the album ones?
No, not really.
No, it's so good.
I really like the aesthetic. I remember when this first came out, I was like, oh,
I
I
love
can
it.
get behind this change. I'm like, I like this
Definitely.
too.
And also, like we talked about in some of the videos, like these also have like a very clear like Instagram type filter to the
Yeah.
they all look much
Oh,
more
look at those.
vintage.
It's like early Instagram.
Yeah,
It
hints,
really
hints,
is.
hints of sepia, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Again, it's very classic leaning.
Yeah.
What she's getting at here, which I agree with you. It's her trying to show like I'm a little more mature,
hmm
than expected.
And then, so on the next slide, we have the Red Taylor's version. In Red Taylor's version, she actually had a lot of images of her in the tour looks, but I didn't include those because those will be on the next slide. So I just did like really like the new photo shoot stuff.
Am I allowed to say it's like London countryside now is the vibe that she's giving on this one?
Yes. I love the beige coat, love the cap. It's so fun.
Yeah, I like that in this one. There's unlike the others. I mean, if you like from the earlier album tracks, you can kind of see there's still a part of her that's more restrained.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are reading this too, but if you look at these images, it's a little freer.
Yeah.
It's a little more confident also, and I like it because it's obviously a nod to like I'm older now.
Right.
That was definitely an era, and I can see it, and I know it was real, and I know I was there.
My cares are different, and they're less.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like especially like the row of pictures, like the two in the middle, the two in the center, and then the one on the right where she kind of has her hands. Like all of her expressions are less restrained here.
Yeah.
It's more like
the one like directly in the middle with like her hair like to the side.
Yeah.
That looks like that could be like, like you're looking at a photo of your mom from like the 80s.
Yeah.
Like
love that take. I love that take so much.
I really like that it still sort of does the same thing as the original Red, which is like it leans toward a look that is actually quite classic if you think about it. Because people would still wear these things. And you could go look back and like decades past, someone was probably wearing this somewhere.
Yeah.
I like that she stuck with that, with the red lip, with the hair being more straight than anything else. I love all of those things. Like
her hair is wilder in this one compared to,
but it's not curls.
But it's not curls.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I like that she's like, I will preserve that vibe to it, like that feel to it. But I'll also make it my own now that I'm here. Now that this is the era I'm in. Like I can look back at that era in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. Like she's just so smart.
She is. And you mentioned it, but yeah, she definitely is in a car from the UK because the steering wheel's on the other side.
Right? It's like it's so London. This is very London already.
Very much.
And to be fair, London is one of those places where it kind of sometimes feels like in certain areas that you are still kind of in the past. So you know what? Thematically speaking, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, go for it. I support this. Okay,
next slide. We've got her tour outfits, which again, red, black, and white is our core here. These are really fun because I think it incorporates style from the early eras, but it very much is red still. Like it has every look in here is very classic. We've got like, as you said, collared shirts. But they all kind of have like a fun flair. Like we have a collared shirt, but it's all lace. We have
I love that shirt.
Shorts, but they're leather. We have this like classic looking like college outfit with the leather jacket and red pants, but the pants are low rise. There's just like some like fun quality to everything. I know I said in the last show, but one of my absolute favorite outfits from this era, like from this era tour, is the treacherous outfit, the beautiful ballet skirt. It's just so beautiful.
It really is. Honestly, a lot of these outfits are so stunning. And yes, maybe I'm a little biased because I love the color scheme a lot. But like, I just enjoy the outfits on this particular tour.
Yeah.
Because unlike the others, because of the color scheme and because I guess of like now she's probably being even more deliberate, it actually all goes together even more. Because sometimes in the others, it's like you can tell there's a clear difference between like this is my, I guess like fearless outfit with like the black or the gold sequins, and then there are the costumes.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, there's still a costume element, obviously, because there's like the ringmaster look and like there's like, you know,
Yeah.
but for some reason, like it all feels more cohesive from start to end. And it's, I guess it's a lot to do with the fact that the colors are always the same three.
It helps.
So.
The colors are the same things,
Yeah.
because even if the themes vary, the style.
Yeah. Like I love that she went for the classic look with the lucky one.
Yes, I love that dress.
Like old Hollywood look
I am
on
digging
it.
these gloves though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like she reuses a lot of elements in different looks too, which is fun to look at. Yeah, I this is probably one of my favorite like tour sets of outfits, just because again, I'm very biased and I really like the color scheme.
It's so good.
Are we surprised?
No.
This is also one of the easiest ones to recreate if you wanted to recreate.
Yeah.
Because it's like a lot of things you could technically find in your closet, like the colored shirts and like the low-rise pants, the Oxfords.
Yes.
You can find all of this in the
too.
closet. Like it's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's classic, because it's all very classic pieces.
never go out of style.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do really love the tour outfits.
I do as well.
It's just such a good.
Okay, moving on. We
Oh,
have
man.
a lot of street style going on here, like a lot.
Oh, Kristin, this is amazing.
Listen,
look at that.
If Kristin knows, we were all probably wearing this outfit, the one where it's like the beanie, the braid, you had a cardigan over like a striped shirt, and then you had Oxfords.
Yeah.
Because like I do remember there was an era that was all I would wear.
Yes, and I loved the skinny jeans and long scarf
Same.
era. Like that
Such
was such a good time. I would still like wear something like that. I know the kids these days don't like skinny jeans, but I'm still partial to that.
What do they wear?
I also they like
More like their
crop tops
boyfriend,
and like loose.
Yeah.
Oh, loose pants are back. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know the 90s
I
are
also
back
really
then, I
I
guess.
also really love the whole like you're wearing a relatively neutral color dress with the bag being your pop of color. My favorite.
Me too.
Also my favorite. Again, the same comment I made earlier. This is when she's starting to dress more New York.
Mhm.
100%.
Because this is definitely like you would see this on the street of New York.
Yeah.
Even now.
Literally every outfit on this thing is like Times Square. Like you.
I'm like checking
in a
off.
block, you would see someone in one of these outfits.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm checking it off in my mind because I'm like, I've worn some variation of this one. I've definitely worn that one.
I know.
Down to the shoes. I'm like,
How about the giant scarf over the coat?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
100%.
that's just classic.
and it's like the 3/4 sleeves with the skirt. 100%.
I love the in the top row, the second one, the beautiful tan coat with the textured tights.
Yes.
And like she's obviously wearing a dress, but you can't see it. It's just like the coat and the scarf, and perfection.
The outfit I think I've worn that I can really remember is the one at the end of the first row with the big yellow scarf. I'm like,
That's
I have
literally what I
at
was talking about.
some point worn that outfit, that exact outfit where it's like a big coat and you have the
Yes.
bag and you have a big colorful scarf.
Do you recognize that photo? Who I cut out of it?
Oh my
Isn't
god!
it the hairy one?
It's the hairy one. Yeah,
it's the hairy one.
that was
Okay,
their
of
first
course.
like public.
Me being like, they were walking in Central Park. Of
Yeah.
course, someone was going to get a photo.
Yeah.
Park, dude. Like, kidding?
And those two at that era,
Paparazzis will find you at a random diner in the corner of like 6th and 743rd.
I
Yeah.
also have my personal favorite look though. It's in the second row. It is the third from the right where it's kind of sunny and she's wearing like that blue dress with the white collar.
Yeah.
I love that outfit.
That is so cute.
The shoes remind me of shoes I've worn too. That's why I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
could see that. But
I
again,
also really like the like simpler ones, like in the top, like dead center, just the 3/4 sleeve black shirt, skinny jeans,
Yeah.
black flats,
Are those
and-
ballet
and the
slippers?
Wayfarers.
yeah,
She's
she's really in her New York era with this all black.
Yeah, that, and then also, I love the second to last one in the top. Well, actually, in the top and the bottom, both of those second to last ones.
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
two of my
I
favorites.
like them too. You're talking about the white dress one in the top row, right?
Yes, white dress with black tights, and then the bottom one is the A-line skirt with the
Yeah.
blue collar.
Classic.
Shirt.
Again, with the classic.
Yeah. And also lots of stripes.
This is making me so excited for when we do TTPD and what she's wearing now.
Yeah,
because I love a style evolution as much as the
I
next
do too.
person.
I think it's interesting.
me
Because
too.
these are because I was wondering like would she go back to some of these just because it's timeless. You know what I mean? Like you don't have time to like
Yeah. Well, I
Oh.
love that she's so deliberate with her choices. I know this is a little bit off track and TTBD related, but I sent it to Alexa. Like in the time period leading up to the release, a lot of the things that she was wearing actually were named. Like she was wearing like the Robin shoe. She was wearing
She was
like
really deliberate.
it was crazy, like the amount of stuff that was actually like had the same name as things in the songs.
hello.
Can't
Well,
wait to get to that era.
So that'll be really fun when we get there.
That. I
Um,
can already see it.
do you
Yeah.
guys have anything else on this slide that you want to talk about?
No, but I love her hair and the side braid. This is
No,
when I
yeah.
also started doing the side braid. So
it's just
yeah.
all very it's just all very very like self-affirming.
Very
I
beautiful.
love it.
I love her.
All right.
Okay.
Next
all
up,
right,
we
here
have
go.
performances, like live performances that she gave during the Red era. Obviously, all the way on the right, we have that Victoria's Secret fashion show outfit that we
Let's
talked
She
about.
looked fab.
Let's go.
I love that.
But the deliberate choice of black, white, and red again.
Again,
And the sparkles.
Sorry,
Let's throw in the
it's-
sparkles.
it's
but
the-
even the sparkles are neutral. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Listen.
they're not like overwhelming.
They're not the entire personality of the outfit. How's that?
Yeah.
Like, I love it because it's so clearly this era.
I particularly like, I mentioned this in the last show too, but the bottom right, when she performed Red at, I think it was the CMAs, I think. But that like black and red outfit and then the red sparkly guitar, I just think she looked
That's
stunning.
arguably my favorite
I love it.
photo in this collection so far. Although, shout out to those plaid pants.
I know. I really
Right?
like it too, actually.
Those are so fun. I like that. Like, I mean, you have her performing in like this beautiful Swarovski crystal dress, and then you have her in like a coat and plaid pants.
Who the hell? I think this might be of course, this is my favorite style era.
I am
Yeah.
not
Of
surprised.
course.
I also just really like the bottom left photo of her. That just was like a very Taylor
Yeah.
expression, so I had to include that one.
Low key though, I kind of want to wear that plaid.
Right?
That
It's such a
plaid
good
outfit.
Yeah,
I would literally like piece by piece. I would wear it like that
Mhm.
coat and then the plaid pants and like the loafers. I would totally.
I have the outfit right next to it. Like, I could actually recreate that right now if I wanted.
Oh my god!
this was also the time when nobody, like, you were either wearing no show socks or like actually show socks.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah, I love this era's aesthetic. I'm sorry. This is like actually one of my all-time
I
favorite
feel like
Taylor aesthetics.
why are we surprised that I love?
Oh,
I
I'm
love
not
this
surprised.
era.
I know which other one you probably will like.
I mean, because I'm still straight up red, black, and well, not white but blue. But
Still close enough. It's still a classic color, is what I would say. Yeah, I love it. And I love the distinction for like that she really dressed herself up for the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I think that's great.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm like, of course you would. Because she has to match the energy.
Yeah. And then the last slide that I have is like award shows and red carpet.
Same
Oh.
thing. She's picking all
And-
these. Oh, my favorite is the Grammy one.
I
That's
had
one of
to
my all-time.
include the photo of her with Prince William since we just had that again. So in the
I like her.
bottom
I actually
That's
love
so
her dress.
good.
in
How-
that. I love her dress in that.
Kristin, that's just good content creation and journalism or whatever it is we want to call what we're doing right now because that is timely.
Okay.
We
Um,
just had that in news. It's a great recap.
Thank
This
you.
entire episode.
Love the CMA outfit, like the deep red.
Me
Beautiful.
too.
Love the Grammy one. That's actually one of my all-time favorite, like red
Which one's the
carpet.
Grammy
This one.
Oh wow!
It's one of my all-time favorite like things she's ever. I'm talking about the one in the second row specifically.
hmm
The one where it's like she's got the.
the double kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I will say there's a
Yeah.
lot of looks here that could bleed over into 1989.
I am partial to
Yes.
the one next to the Prince William one with the pantsuit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one.
Is fabulous. I don't understand why, but it
So
speaks
good.
to me.
The one I think is
Are those open-toed
1989.
shoes?
I think so. I can't
Anyway.
tell from here. The 1989 looks to me are the one that could cross over. In the top row, it's the third.
Third one.
Yeah, the gold one.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah,
Well, she
one,
looks like a
and
good
then
one.
the bottom right on the second row.
Yep, I totally agree with both
Yeah,
of
Even,
those.
even the
1989
Grammy
coded, yeah.
outfit I like could also,
Could.
in theory,
I mean,
be-
it's giving Wildest
Yeah.
Dreams.
like you can tell there's something happening.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing, right? Like with 1989, Taylor decided to, pull out like we're gonna go like history, like hysterical,
I'm so excited.
and Wildest Dreams is like Screen Siren, Greta Garbo, that era,
Mm.
right? So for her to have that sort of like double,
Yeah.
anyway.
But again, she's done the thing where she either has her hair up or the curls are not present at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And it's also the same thing. We just have the red, black, and white. And then the only detailing is really gold. Like she does a lot of gold. And it's the same thing like in the tour outfits. She has like the gold trim on the like circus
Yeah.
outfit. So it's just so intentional and so classic and just so perfect.
I know she's so good. This is, I think, when she started being more deliberate about that. Like her,
yes.
because the others were a little bit like from what we were looking at in the previous albums. Like you could clearly tell there wasn't really a plan. It was more like, I just want to wear whatever I feel like wearing.
Can't
Yeah.
see Team Red. I am.
Whereas
stuck in
literally this is
era.
like, I am only going to wear the
Right.
following colors.
Yeah. Honestly, it probably made getting dressed so easy.
I know, right?
Everything
Like,
matches.
this is all I can choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's getting dressed in
Oh,
in
God.
an easy way, and then there's getting dressed this kind of easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait till we get to 1989.
Ugh, boy.
Lord, that's a whole like
Yeah.
saga.
I feel like
in and
that's.
of
I feel like that era is a little more frenetic style wise, but
Well, considering who her group of friends was, of course.
Yeah.
well.
The stability, non-existent.
Am I stuck in 2012? I'm 100% sure I'm stuck in 2012.
I was about to be like, there's no stability in 1989 era.
No.
I wish, but I do love her red carpet looks in this one too, just because of the color choices and also how most of the silhouettes are very classic.
This is an excellent sample set, Kristin. I swear.
Yeah. Good job narrowing it down though, because she really did have a lot of like, she was everywhere.
In which case, in
Yeah.
as a full recap, look at that style. Look at that outfit right next to Prince. That's also giving 1980.
Right? I really love that
Because
outfit.
the short
her
hair, the
outfit to meet
curls,
Prince William.
it screams 20s, 30s, 40s. That kind of like like movie, like Hollywood era.
Would
Yeah.
explain why he likes 1989 so much, because that's the next album that came out after they met.
Yep. That's my fave.
Ugh, what a weird
One of my
connection.
favorites, too.
It's like Taylor Swift, Prince. It's a weird celebrity bingo.
Yeah.
I love it. I think
But
it's great.
I'm just glad that the kids had fun.
Yeah, me
so.
too.
Me too.
They're royals. They have it. They'll have it weird enough in life.
And they probably already do,
mean,
unfortunately.
You know.
But yeah, I really love these looks. Yes.
Me too.
I
I
love
think
the red hair. I forgot how much I love its aesthetic.
I think my two favorites are in the top row, the third one in, just like the
Oh.
red lace dress.
Is
It
that
just
lazy?
looks
You know what?
pretty.
I wore something like that to Kristin's wedding, but mine was blue.
Oh yeah,
That's
you did.
true.
It was like a same thing where it's like lace and then it's like lace all the way down.
Yeah.
that outfit.
I just remembered because I'm like, this looks oddly familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me following Taylor Swift, apparently.
I agree with you. The white Grammy outfit and also the People's Choice Award one next to it with the white with the deep blue.
Yeah.
Both of those. Like
Very
this
classic.
looks very angelic when she wears white.
She does.
She's-
Sorry. Don't mind me cackling.
No, but the thing is, like, I feel like Taylor grew up. No, like Taylor grew up as one of the unpopular, unliked kids,
Mm.
and it shows. It's just she's not that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, I mean, no, which is ironic because that's not true. People still hate her, but like with a fiery passion. But she's not without her tribe, and she's not like physically. Look at her. This is some crazy glow up
Mm-hmm.
compared to her like Christmas tree farm like footage days.
Oh my god.
Like we're
Yeah.
talking full.
That's funny.
We're talking full swanage here,
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
like the fairy tale, not the vampire. So, although technically also anyway, but more the fairy tale than the vampire. So,
Okay. I like how
I'm sorry,
you,
the
I like how you
shield.
had to go that way.
Yeah.
that's a deep cut.
That is.
Anyway,
If you know, you know.
by the way, I call it Michael Sheen's Valtteri now.
I love that.
I don't know why, but from now on and forever, I will call it Michael Sheen's Valtteri.
I was thinking of watching that the other day. I kind of want to rewatch all the movies.
Oh, can we do that at your place? I have
That
a
would
thing.
be fun.
I have a thing where if they say a line that is particularly
God.
jarring in any way, whether it's good, bad, whatever opinion, if it like stops the world for you in any form or fashion, you have to eat an Oreo. I
Macky's thing.
finished a bag.
I believe that.
I don't know, maybe not a full Oreo, maybe like I don't know, like Skittles or something.
Like, or like,
Because if you play
Or like a
because if you
tiny-
play that as
the
a
mini
drinking game,
Oreos.
we're gonna die of alcohol poisoning
Yeah.
in the first 30 minutes.
listen, Eclipse has the best lines. Nobody can convince me
That
otherwise.
is true though.
It
Eclipse has
literally has the best lines.
Eclipse
Yeah.
has the best lines.
I'm
I
always
think
around for that
Eclipse
one.
has the best lines. I think Breaking Dawn 1 is arguably the scariest movie of all
Yeah,
time.
actually, that movie is
Above
Yeah.
Friday the 13th and like that is the scariest movie I've watched in a long time.
that movie is
Mhm.
horrifying.
Over The Exorcist, it's
I
a
mean,
whole
this is
thing. Like
still
Linda
10
Blair has nothing on that baby.
Yeah.
Because
Like I will take 17 more minutes of pure Linda Blair throwing pea soup at everybody over
Yeah.
5 minutes of that baby.
Oh my god, that baby was terrifying.
Because Linda was a
Mhm.
lovely, lovely, lovely young lady.
I will say that it's pretty the way it's shot.
and a
like,
great actress in that
Breaking
sense.
Dawn Part 1. Like there are certain parts of it where I'm like, wow, that's really pretty.
It's just,
Yeah.
Until we get to the part where she's having.
Horrifying.
we should do that.
Anyway, I love that we literally got.
And I'm
sidetracked by
not
the most
hating on
random thing.
Twilight. I read Brie Tanner, all of it, and
You've
I,
actually read more Twilight than I have.
and I actually like that they picked Jodelle Ferland as Brie. See, it's a.
I
it's
don't
a,
hate on Twilight either.
I have a
I
ve-
don't think
I
it's
just want to make it very clear because the way I say it, like there's a sneer built into it, and I understand that that's more a me thing than anything else. So just so everybody knows, the only thing I
Yeah,
haven't
in fact,
read is
arguably, like I only have a very few things where I'm like, I do take some annoyance with the way the story goes, but that's only
Yeah.
because I don't like necessarily where the story ends up.
Mhm.
But it's not like I just remember a random memory. I blew through those books so fast.
Me
So
too.
I was just like, I want to know how it ends. Like,
I
you know,
definitely am guilty of having hating on Twilight when I was younger, but I've accepted that I do genuinely like it.
Okay, I want to go that far.
I
we have
also
to talk.
wanna-
We
wait,
have to
wait.
talk about.
I also
this.
want to go that far. Also, there are two separate things here where it's like the books and the movies. Because for me, they're like separate entities.
Yeah.
We have like like offline, and I know this
Yeah.
is a weird way to put this
I
right
know.
there.
There are very obvious things that I don't like, Jacob.
Same.
Sure, no, yeah, but that
Same.
can be said about a lot of things.
Yeah.
That we do, sort of
But
like,
I would say, like, overall, I do like it. I like
Lord.
and I like the aesthetic. It's fun. Like, it's just fun.
I wouldn't say like it's a favorite of mine, but I also
No.
wouldn't be like I hate it because I
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, because when you're a kid, you can afford those kinds of emotions. When you're you're a little older, you're like, there's no time and bandwidth.
I mean, the
to
fact
just
is,
be
I have
talk-
a favorite and a least favorite in
Right.
the Twilight series. So
Right.
I'm like, the fact that I can give you an opinion of that means that at least on some level.
So while that might not be a series, that will be a future conversation we will have in private. What will happen next time we convene?
The next time we convene, which is in July, I don't remember. Hold on, I think I have it on my calendar. So
I
let
was
me
going to check that too.
pull it up so that we can actually say it this time.
Because deep dives into
all right.
fandoms are fun.
The next live show is happening on July 14th,
Yes.
supposedly. And it's going to be about an album that we all really love.
Oh my god!
I think this is the first one, maybe, that we all like immediately like, yeah, we're 100% into this. Yes.
Yeah.
It's 1989, and it's
This
going
is-
to be hosted by Kristin.
Can't wait.
Great. Cannot wait.
We love that for you, by the way, that you're hosting this.
And her birthday month.
Because it is your birthday month. It's just
Yeah.
everything happening, and the confluence is strong and lovely.
I love it. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to talk about 1989. You guys have no idea.
Me too.
Like, I feel like I have so many things I already want to say, and I haven't even thought too hard or too deeply about it.
I'm so excited to like deep dive into more of the like behind the scenes stuff because I love it for the music, but I don't necessarily know all of the stuff that like went into it. So
Yeah,
And it has some of the best. I'm not arguably has some of the best music videos in her lineup.
And do not get me started on that vault because
Maggie has already
my
so many things to say about this vault.
that vault has murdered anyway.
And just so everyone knows, it's only going to be one show this time because I do think we can actually
we can
manage.
do that. There's no movie. There's no like the vault.
Well, it's also because the album itself was short.
Yeah, it's a short.
to begin
It's a short album.
And then
Yeah.
even adding like the bonus deluxe edition tracks and adding in the vault tracks, it's still not that long.
no.
So I do think it is possible to talk about this one in one video with a lot of time just spent on
because
the track dissection.
Yeah.
And it's a whole glitzy, glamoury.
Yeah. Oh my God, dressing up for 1989 is going to be so fun.
Agreed.
And the mystery of whether or not Kristin and I will once again dress alike will be next month.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to tell because there's a lot of ways you can dress up.
I'll be a tree from the
That's
woods.
true. Yeah.
You know? Just,
I mean, like you could go song reference, you could go music video reference, you could do album like art reference too.
Yep.
There's
You
so
could wear
many
merch
ways to go
from-
with- you could wear
yeah.
merch. You could do like, a tour outfit.
but I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to end on a cliffhanger because this was bordering sort of like Reputation. This is when like
And
This
you
is-
get to talk about that one.
like what a terrible segue. But no, but it's not a spoil. It's like, oh, the Titanic. Oh, like. But at 1989, literally, comes out swinging, but then ends on a terrible sort of like
and there's like a
cliffhanger,
long
almost like
hiatus. in that one.
almost like a Hollywood murder thing. Where
Yeah.
night of a star's thing, she's shot at the end of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, and it's just mayhem because that's literally what happened. Her career, the
Yeah.
whole world was finally saying,
you
"Oh,
are
we
gonna-
love Taylor Swift,"
Yeah.
and then
You
you
are
know.
gonna have to
and then
Deep
Amy
dive
steps in,
into that.
and then
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to talk about that.
Agreed.
The only thing I think 1989 also has is now it's a world tour, like a
Yes.
big
yeah,
stadium
big,
tour.
big,
Yeah.
big, whatever. So.
And this is also the first tour where I think Macky and I can talk about it because we were at the same show at the same time,
yeah,
Oh,
first,
that's so fun.
yeah, big,
not together.
That's even funnier.
Well, we'll explain that whole thing in 1989, but
I mean,
it is funny.
we were in the same arena on the same day. It's
Dude,
just,
we were in the same
Wow.
car going to the arena and going home. It was just
it's just we.
Oh.
there's a whole backstory
It's
to
a
this.
whole thing. I can't even like.
I love that.
And that was like at the sort of like crest of like my mental health wonderfulness. So I only remember just three things, and one of them had to do with the biggest piece of bacon on a stick I've seen in my life.
We'll get back to it.
Which I did it. Which having moved to the U.S. for the first time, I'm like, they make bacon like this and available. Really? At this time, I'm having
It was
bacon
the- yeah.
at a Taylor Swift concert. What is my life right now?
Well,
I
it was
swear
the
to God,
first
what a
time
weird
too. We had
contrast.
seen her at a stadium.
Like my like exactly, it was the first. So can you imagine like the novelty of that moment in indirect proportion to like my failing mental health?
Uh-huh.
It's the wildest. Like what is happening right now? Are we still here? Lovely stories and anecdotes.
It's gonna happen.
abound.
It'll be great. I can even tell you guys the story of when I heard "Shake It Off" for the first time because it was funny because I was in the office. So we'll get to that in the next show. But just in case anyone's still here watching, that's what you can expect from 19.
Just more of this.
Just more of this chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you watched all the way to the end, good for you. Like you hung out with us for 3.5 hours talking about Red again.
And if you
Yeah.
enjoyed,
Great.
and if you enjoyed yourselves, we love that for you. So
I mean, we had
because
fun.
time of our lives. It's the most fun we've had. I mean, there's something about shared fandoms that
Does this mean that we've cumulatively talked about Red for like 8 hours?
Yes,
pretty much
yes.
as predicted.
Yeah.
As
Which is
predicted.
exactly why it was smart to frickin' cut it because we would have been there the whole
all
day.
bloody day.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's not
god!
even
Can
a
you
thing.
just imagine? Let's see. Last show was okay. It's 4.5. So add that together.
Yeah, 4.5.
So
And
it
then-
would be 8 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly 8 hours. Wild.
So, how are we?
Anyway, we'll leave off with the Red Era, the breakup album, and we're gonna leave you knowing that the next album we talk about is the New York one
Yes.
Welcome.
officially.
Welcome
All
to
right.
New York.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
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 I know.